What are we talking about?
I don't know. Is the logo blocking?
Well, Gary bailed.
Is the
What's up,
macro blocking
everybody?
my head? I can't.
Thanks for joining us here tonight. Got a nice group of people. Got Gary Middleton right next to me. Got John McCallion. Got Hannibal is hungry. Got Kim Side Money. Got David from Para. And got Jason Thierry from the Gig Economy podcast. We were supposed to have Curry, but it was weird. I was talking to Gary about this before we came on, and Curry found the questions I had a little too difficult. So they are in the midst of getting a PR person to deal with these questions. So I'm going to put them out there because she asked me to. So she said these are good questions. So I'm just going to real quickly run through them, and then we'll just jump into the rest of this because Curry will be here next month, but it's going to be, I guess they're in the midst of a PR person change or something. But one of the things that I am asked about by everybody all the time is this waiting list thing. And here's the thing is that I guess nobody has come off the waiting list basically since months ago in any city. If you've been put on the waiting list, it's kind of waiting to get into spring so that there is enough business to bring you back on the platforms. Construction goes down a little bit, we all know, in the winter, especially in many states compared to others like Jason up in Michigan, me in Colorado. We still have construction, but obviously weather dictates what can be done. But she said that the waiting list will start to open up. So if you've been on it for a while, hang tight, you will get on there. My questions were a little more intense this time around. I wanted to know specifically about earnings for one-off drivers and why pay was the same regardless of the vehicle you were running. If it was a small enough load to go into a Prius or a pickup truck. I wanted to know what was being done to persuade the customer to pay enough to make sure that the driver's making a $2+ per mile, especially if they're deadheading back from wherever their final destination delivery is. I wanted to know the different vehicles that they, even though they take all of them, like what is a breakdown of like the smaller vehicles actually getting acceptance on these. And finally, why when they're doing the round robin, it will select out of the group who says, yes, I want that load, but then it then selects who has a Sprinter van, who has a truck, who has a car, when really it was first brought to our attention that it's supposed to be the closest person to the pin when you get into the round robin. So I mean, that would, if it's a 5-gallon delivery of Sherman-Williams paint, pays $100. Why, if the Prius is closest, why does the Sprinter van get it if it's 3 times farther away? It's kind of an odd thing. I don't think that fits with the, David, you might even have input on this. I don't think that fits with the normal round robin.
That's weird.
But I don't know. I found, there was just a lot of questions. And when I asked these to the new person, because I've got a handful of people that I know over at Curry, but there's a new person who I thought was PR. She was just, I thought we had a great conversation, but she called Alice, who I've worked with for months now, and was like, I can't do this tomorrow. The questions are way too hard and I don't have the answers. And
they
so
don't
I thought
sound
that was
too hard. I mean, I don't know Curry that well, but they don't sound like hard hitting, you know.
I know they were. I mean, I think the pay thing and why certain people. I think it's an image they want to project. Like, we'd rather, if somebody is in that pool and they have a Prius, but somebody's in that pool and has a Sprinter van, they'd rather the Sprinter van go and be the face of the company, even if it's a 5-gallon thing of paint, instead of just, that average person who maybe uses the Prius to do DoorDash or whatever. Like, I think they just would rather have the image of, hey, we use Sprinter vans, pickup trucks whenever possible, even if that means that, that the other people go by the wayside. But that's what I wanted to know. And so we will have them back on. Alice said she will get me somebody by next month. So hopefully we'll have somebody to give us direct answers on that.
What I would like to see is they be more specific in the kind of vehicle that they want. Now, I haven't had a ton of requests, but it always says like huge ass van, or it doesn't say huge ass, but you know what I mean, like Sprinter van or something like that. And even though I can take them, so I think that may turn a lot of people off too, and not to accept it.
Well, that's just a problem that they have that I don't know if they've corrected. At least on mine, I think it is corrected. I don't really see that anymore, but their whole thing has been, if you get it, it fits in your car.
Then it should say that. Then,
exactly, because sometimes it says pickup truck or larger, or it'll say Sprinter van or larger, and it's coming to you, and you're like, well, I don't have a Sprinter van.
And I'd hate to drive there and get it, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, that's not going to fit." And
I've gotten pretty close before where I'm like, it fits, but like just
barely.
I've seen car. Well, this one I've just seen. I didn't get it because I didn't pick it out, but it says car or larger required. I don't know if you guys can see it. No, probably can't. Wait, no.
It's out of
okay.
Yeah. Focus.
Right. Yeah, car.
So,
large, no, yeah.
Well. So exactly. Like that's what Jason's saying, and it used to do that. Like it might come through to you, Hannibal, as Sprinter van or bigger, and you would look at it and go, "Well, I can't take that." But really, if it's coming through to you, it will fit in your car.
Well, yeah, but fit in your car is a wide variation. I mean, I can fit a lot in my car. Doesn't mean I'm going to. You know,
right? I think
I can fit 10 gallons of paint in my car. Am I going to? No.
I think we all have learned this with Rodeo, if not directly, indirectly through other people who have had this same problem with Rodeo. You get somewhere and it doesn't fit.
Well, it's also a weight issue too, right? If I probably could fit 10 5-gallon buckets of paint in my car, but man, you know,
it's gonna weigh down.
I mean, it's an SUV, but still, do I want that weight in there?
Think about your gas economy.
Well, that was the thing, is forced fields. We talked about this before. Why don't they have forced fields that say, what is the weight? What are the dimensions? Because some people put them real nicely too. Like I'll get some orders that are very specific. Here's the dimensions. Here's the weight. Here's what you're picking up.
Yeah, they sent me one that was like 350 pounds.
Holy crap.
I ain't putting that in my car.
Yeah, but realistically, man, I've had rideshare rides from the airport with 350 pounds.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Come on, dude. I've probably toppled out on that even, you know. I don't know.
Steve.
Steve likes to tear up his vehicles.
Well, no, I have an SUV. I mean, if I go to the airport and some people are flying in and they're all big people, I mean, that can add up real quick.
Yeah, but that's like distributed, across your car, not one solid piece in one location.
That's a good point.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Still though. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Mort. What is Pia, Bud Soda?
I think Roy wants to join too.
Just gigging. I never said Mort. What's up, Faith? What's up, Marissa? What's up, Hannibal? Hi, Hannibal.
What's up?
What's up, Thomas?
20 minutes into the show.
What's up, Roy? What's up, Flex? And what's up, Crispy? So I guess the biggest story, and it kind of maybe will base around a couple of the other things I have on here, is that what happened today with, and it kind of relates to what happened in Washington State that we were talking about just a few weeks ago about Uber and Yellow Cab. Did you guys all see this? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this has been going on for a while, and Uber and Yellow Cab have finally merged in New York City.
Well, yes, they didn't merge.
Well, not merged. Through the app, you will be able to order. You will be able to
like
order Yellow Cab in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
However, this involved the rideshare drivers, Uber, and again the Teamsters, which goes back to that Washington thing that we talked about. That why are the Teamsters involved here, and why aren't they getting anything? Well, I mean, clearly this is what we were talking about, and this is what they're getting. They're getting a piece of Uber. Oddly, you know, these guys have hated each other, but this is not, to me, this is not a good sign I think that, it's again, just, I mean, it takes away from rideshare, and it's taking away from these medallion holders who spent $1 million on a medallion.
Well, did you also read that article though, that the taxi drivers will get 100% of upfront information, including pickup, drop off, how much it's paying, all that as well.
Don't they have to do that in New York, Hannibal?
They're supposed to do it in a lot of places, but they don't.
Yeah.
Wait, but Gary's talking about for the cabs.
The cabs, whenever they get, like when a request comes through to the cab, they're going to get the pickup, the drop off, how much it's going to pay, all that stuff that normal drivers don't get. Like on Uber, you have to, in order to get the pickup and drop off, or the drop off location and some of the pay, you have to be a certain tier.
Gotcha.
For the ride share. But taxi drivers are going to get all the information up front. They're also not being penalized for unassigning the rides.
Pretty sweet gig.
So how will that work? So I mean, you're still going to be able to hail in New York City, right, Hannibal? I'm imagining they can't take that away.
Well, yeah, I'm looking through it a little bit right now. It seems like the I don't know if it's just the sign of the times that everyone is just a little desperate. Like the yellow cabs have been desperate, and now Uber, where they're not getting as many riders. So like they both, like these two desperate kind of entities came together. But it seems like if you are running a yellow taxi, you are benefiting from the merger.
Of course. I mean, to be honest, we've always wondered. I mean, yellow cab got screwed, not just New York, around the country, because they didn't have a universal app.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did not. If you flew to Phoenix, you couldn't just open your app like Uber.
You have to call it.
You have from your city. You'd have to download Phoenix Yellow Cab.
Yeah,
and so they never got on that universal program, and so that's all Uber's providing them is the customer database.
But why would you work with the company that tried to basically take over your livelihood, like just to push you out completely?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now let's all group together, let's all work together. So it just seems like it's a sign of desperation, and I don't know if it necessarily will help
both sides.
Uber drivers. Yeah. So
I mean, I read it's in every. I mean, if you pull up, if you Google search Uber today and go to news, it's the only article you'll pretty much see.
Well, the headline's misleading though too. It says to combat driver shortage. There's not a shortage.
Which one which article are you looking at?
Well, I read it earlier. Let's see.
Because I mean, it's in everything. It's in TechCrunch, New York Times.
Morton McFly's asking a really good question in chat. He said, "Do the Teamsters represent cab drivers?" So they do.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, that's what happened up in.
This is what the Times says. The Times says Uber hit driver shortages, and that's why they're doing this.
Right. I mean, they all read a little bit different, but to be honest, they all have that same tone at the end where it's like, hey, we tore down the yellow cabs, destroyed their livelihoods with these medallions, and now we're coming in and like bailing them out while we're failing too. That's kind of how I read these articles. Some of them didn't read like we're short of drivers. It read like these both of these entities are having so much trouble coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
They just can't. They just
and
can't
particularly
make
with Manhattan, money. Right? Like that. There's one island where there's so many cabs and whatever. Like it seems like that is a big deal for the people who live there. They need the cabs to go because you can't really drive. You could drive your car, but it's basically worthless. Like you're just wasting time. So this concentrated for this area where you need a lot of these cabs for people to move around.
But don't you think that this is that same decision we talked about in Washington? This is gonna. I mean, we were all baffled. Why are the Teamsters in this, and why are they getting nothing?
This seems very short term.
My guess is right now,
but long term they may realize they're put in more trouble, or they're going to get more trouble later on when Uber may not need them anymore.
Oh, right? That's exactly how I see it. Is that once Uber doesn't need them, they're going to drop them.
Oh yeah.
And then
I don't know. It's just so weird. Like I feel like they were trying to get rid of them forever, and now it's like, come on,
let's hang out. Let's be friends.
And let's partner and let's see what it goes. And I don't know. It's very strange.
I think it always goes down to the PR stunt thing, that it's honestly that they're trying to bring everybody onto the Uber app. And then once they do pull the rug out from under the cabbies, all the people who were using cabs that now know about, I mean, even though they already know about the app, but now have the app to get cabs too, say, you know what, I'll just get an Uber.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that's what normal people do anyways. Oh, I'm just going to order an Uber.
Right, but like Hannibal was saying, in New York, it's a little bit different, you know.
Yeah. Also, I would agree with Gary. One of the positive things about Uber, especially when Uber first came, especially in New York City, there's a lot of issues of hailing a cab, particularly if you looked a certain way. A cab may not come to you, a yellow cab, but the Uber, you prepaid. There was at least this relationship where, you will get picked up and whatever. But, is it a problem now? Don't think so. But back then, I think that's one of the biggest problems with the yellow cab, where a lot of people were upset that they weren't getting the cab to stop for them. Wow. They wouldn't go in certain neighborhoods, stuff like that. And Uber kind of came in and, obviously you guys are familiar. So, I still think this is a short-term, I guess, fix. If you're a yellow cab driver, you're all the benefits you're getting, the transparency you're getting. But if I was a rideshare driver here, I'll be kind of annoyed. Like, why they get to get this extra stuff going for them, but not for me?
Why can they cancel? Why are they seeing everything up front? Why? I mean, you're going to have and that's the thing. You're going to have that battle of we're the cabs, we're independent contractors, and you have the other people going, well, we're Ubers and we're independent contractors. And that whole story is going to come up again. That whole mess.
I mean, it comes down to who do you have to fight for you. That's literally what this deal comes down to. Teamsters, of course, fight for the cab companies. They're also unionized, aren't they? Some of them.
I believe so.
Yeah.
The cab companies, they're unionized. So.
Oh yeah.
They have this whole big entity that can fight for them compared to the random, people that work hour here, 2 hours there. Because, I mean, as we all know we're independent contractors, but it was 85-90% of us do it part-time.
Right.
Compared to cabs are 100% of the time always.
Mm-hmm. Pia, hopefully we will get to this in a few minutes. And then another. I did want to bring this up too. Remember we were talking about the temporary fuel surcharge of 45 cents. Was that really worth it? Okay, well, why are the electric vehicles getting it too?
Oh, that's a good point.
That is a very good point.
I mean, seriously, that's the whole point. That you have an electric vehicle. Why would you need the fuel surcharge?
It's like the opera meme. You get a 55-cent surcharge. You get everybody.
But that seems really, really weird. They're trying to.
I think it was just easier to implement.
Yeah,
just to give it to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think they know how to pick it apart.
Yeah,
but still, that's not
very hard to separate that. Like, especially as quickly as they tried to roll that out, it's very hard to. Okay, well, let's code this in, let's code that, and they probably would have broke the whole back end trying to do that.
Right.
They do anyways with a small little update.
I mean, but let's be real. DoorDash is, I mean, what is it? 500 miles, you get $15.
700 something.
No, that's what I was going to mention. So, I mean, I actually I know this has been out for a minute, but I was just looking into this DoorDash Cash Rewards program, and I didn't know it was this bad.
Are you really surprised though, Steve?
No. But kind of, yeah. I mean, it's pretty bad. Like, you got to do 100 plus miles to get a $5 reward and 250 plus to get 15.
It's 220. I think it's 225 to get 15.
But still, that just doesn't seem like, again, these just don't seem like real anything fixes. It just seems like breadcrumbs.
It is.
I don't know.
I said this, a couple days ago that, I think it's good for part-time drivers who are out here getting a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there, and, they have an incentive to drive more. For someone who's doing this full-time, doesn't matter how many miles you put on your car, you're still going to get $15, which is like cents to what we do on a weekly basis.
Right. I mean, I don't know. The 45 cents, the 55 cents, those don't make sense to me. This $5 reward over 100. These just seem like these need to be big. I'm not going to say bigger or smaller because like I said before, like I honestly don't think they should even exist. Because this is my point here, is that these look so crappy. It's like, if you're not going to really do anything, don't do anything at all.
Yeah, I think DoorDash's hook to all of this was sign up for the Dasher Direct card because then you get 10% off. And let's see how many drivers can we get to sign up for our Dasher Direct card, because that's the bigger payout opposed to the rewards, which is like so minuscule. So I think that was their hook, to get people signed up for as many Dasher Direct cards as possible.
But the problem with
that is pushed it all throughout the press, right? It was like everywhere, all over the press, like Dasher, DoorDash helping people with gas.
Yeah, but that card fails all the time. I've seen in the last couple of weeks, people haven't been able to cash out of that thing. You couldn't pay me enough to get a card through DoorDash. They cannot be trusted.
Same here.
Any gig company, they've all offered them. I've never taken one because every week I see the same thing. My Dasher Direct card is not working, or my the Uber card, or they actually sent me one for Lyft, the Lyft business debit card, and
the DoorDash app.
Well, yeah, I mean, they all have them and they're all trash. I mean, like the Lyft one is through, who's this one through? Payfare.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's like every other day they're having maintenance and you can't even use the card.
Yeah, they're pretty rough.
Yeah.
I think Payfare is the one that Dasher Direct is through as well.
Oh, let's say there you go.
Yeah.
So what else does the Dasher card do?
It's a debit card. It's like a MasterCard. I mean, it's supposed to be.
Okay. I mean,
it has magical powers now.
No, they all offer reward. I use the Flex debit card and they give me quite a bit of cash back. I have not had an issue with it, but only my Flex money goes into that. So that's the only one I've used, just due to the fact that they were giving me like 4 or 5% back on gas. But most of them offer a reward, just like any kind of credit card, even though it's not a credit card. You get a little bit off at Amazon.com. You get,
I was more wondering if there's like tiers and at any kind of thing. They're adding even more money. Like, hey, you did this many dashes.
There is for the Amazon one. I'm not sure on the other ones because I don't have them.
Yeah. I don't think there is for Door. I was trying to look, but
they do have sort of 10% cash back on gas until April 30th. So I guess that ain't the worst right now.
But isn't that same as the rewards?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, okay, so the 100 miles you get $5 reward. I mean, you're getting 10% back at the time of purchase plus the reward.
Yes, you're double dipping.
Okay. So again, why don't they just make that simpler and just call it what it is and make it?
Because they want someone to take the crappy orders. That's why.
Bingo.
They want you to work for it.
I love how John just puts it black and white real quick. Let's just shut that down.
There's no feelings when it comes to money.
There was another article too on that DoorDash is leaving the burden of drivers' earnings on the customer now. That they absolutely know, especially in many markets, that the $2 or $2.25 or whatever the market is, core charge per ride relies on at least that in a tip to even make. I mean, it's crazy. They basically are saying that, if you're not tipping, they now understand that the drivers can't make a living off it.
They now understand.
Well,
exactly.
I've seen someone post that, previously, I think DoorDash used to take 9% or something like that service fee, and I seen a post. It was 16% now.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's like, why, again, if these companies are operating at that level, it's like if DoorDash operates at giving you a core pay of $4 or at $2, and they don't make money either way, and somehow they can scramble their numbers together to still stay afloat. Why on earth is it down to $2? I mean, at some point, people will just, and we've said this before, but we'll just give up. I know that DoorDash is around to stay like Uber. However, I mean, like some changes need to be made here. I mean, there's I don't know if you guys saw the District of Columbia Carl Racine Grubhub lawsuit. There's like 7 claims against Grubhub for misleading fees and unethical business practices.
For Grubhub?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was like they're charging different amounts for menu items. They're delivering from restaurants that aren't part of the program.
Okay, they've done
and they're now being fined $250 per incident.
Damn.
So if they do 100 deliveries from a restaurant in a night, that's $25,000.
But didn't DoorDash and Uber Eats already get sued for this? Exact same thing.
Well, okay. Well, now DoorDash and Uber Eats have 75% of the market share though in the food space, and so like Grubhub's already little brother, and they're just getting taken to the cleaners right now.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like Uber Eats and DoorDash have already been sued by them, so now they're going down to the next one.
I will say this. I feel like every time they lower the base pay, like the lower the service of DoorDashers or Uber Eats people come out, and then the service just becomes crap, and then the tips become lower. So I feel like it's like a vicious cycle. You keep lowering it, service goes down, drivers go down, the quality goes down, like everything just kind of it's like a vicious cycle over and over again.
Yeah. I got the wrong food 2 days ago. I ordered ramen. They came back with Cinnabon. And my dumbass gave the Cinnabon back to the driver.
I was gonna say
back to the driver. He took the bag. He's eating Cinnabon. I have no ramen. I had to reorder it.
I was gonna say I hope it wasn't lo mein.
I was like, why did I give the guy back the Cinnabon? I should I'm taking this Cinnabon and I'm gonna get it back. I'm gonna get my ramen too. It's like,
yeah,
like 2 days ago. Yeah.
Have you guys tried ordering on Grubhub recently?
I don't think I was trying to remember if I've even used Grubhub. And
I ordered it yesterday on it.
Yeah, that's the only platform I use because it didn't hide the pay.
You notice that they overcharge you compared to DoorDash and Uber Eats?
No. I don't order enough to notice, but I did know that my driver was double dipping today because I watched him drop one off before me. So he was definitely multi-apping, and my Panda Express usually is like really hot, but it was like lukewarm when I got it. But whatever. I mean,
deep bad service.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah.
Did you tip, Jason? Did you really tip?
I did tip. I tipped 25%.
So
okay, I was gonna
$250.
So I got to ask this. I mean, like across the board on the food platforms, are you guys seeing volume going down?
Mm-hmm.
No,
not at all.
No, I don't see volume going down. Like I still get a couple hundred orders a day sent to me. They're just trash.
Right.
Yep. Right. No volume. Volume is not a problem here in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much longer that I don't know. I'm starting to, if they don't start using these weeding out methods to get some of these dashers off, though, it's just going to be nothing.
Bud Soda had a good comment. He isn't using his Grubhub bags. Yeah, I bet he didn't have it in a bag. So if I have a one-off, if I just have one order and it's close, I don't bag it. But if I ever get a multi-order, I always bag that's the one that's going to be second, just because I know it's going to take a little longer.
What do you got? One bag?
I
have like 19 bags.
I got a lot of bags, but I used to bag every time. But
he's got to prioritize which one gets the bag. Like put them all in a bag.
I bag everything just because I feel like it's part of the service that, I still look at it as we're in the service industry, and maybe it's because I come from customer service, but like I feel like it's just part of the service. You put food in the bag because it keeps it warm, and you get to the customer's house, it's warm, and hopefully if it's Uber, maybe they tip more, maybe they don't, but it's still part of the service process.
Yeah, Jason.
This is
all
what
right.
I have in my trunk. I have a big catering bag, and it has a divider down the middle. So I literally just pop my trunk and drop
fancy.
it in there.
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I agree with Kim. I think bag everything just because it's
Jason.
But I mean, I mean, I guess if it's if it's one, I mean, I don't know if it's like if Jason knows it's just one person ordering food. I mean, like you have to carry the bag. I mean, are you talking about carrying the bag up to the door too, or just the organization in your car?
No,
in a car. I personally put it in the car in bags. I'll be honest, I'm a huge klutz sometimes. So if I bring a bag and go up the stairs, sometimes I'm not so glamorous. So like I usually take it from the bag and put it, to the customer's house without the bag. But it's nice and toasty and warm until they get it to the door.
Yeah, you might as well bring the bag up there though. Then the customer can see you actually had it in a bag because they're gonna think you didn't have it in there. So you feel good that it's nice and warm, but they're gonna be like, that piece of shit didn't even have it in a bag.
Yeah, I do that performance too. I like taking it out the bag to hand the person. It looks nicer.
Now I do that with pizza. With the pizza orders, I definitely carry the bag the whole time because it's easier.
I will say this: if it's a hand it to me customer, I'll bring the bag with me because I feel like it's that face-to-face interaction. Mm-hmm. And I think with what we do, like everything is leave at door or it's contactless. Like we're missing the whole human interaction. So I feel like that's where it's lost in translation half the time because we don't have that human connection and human interaction. We're taking the bait that we're just putting it on someone's door and walking away and praying to God it's hot. So as a driver, I know I do everything I possibly can to make sure that they get it the way that they're supposed to get it, which is nice and warm. And, it's to me, it's just part of customer service. And I feel like and we all know that there are drivers out there that throw their food in their side door and go, here you go, and don't really even care that that's how they're delivering it to their house.
Right.
Disrespectful.
What was that?
That was Justin Timberlake in auto-tune.
Do you guys all fill your customers' cups too?
Yeah, I definitely do that.
Oh, here we go again.
Oh, was this a rant from a while back?
Low blow, man.
I would. I agree.
I do too.
Yeah, I don't care.
Deal.
I don't care.
We do, but we shouldn't do it. It's not sanitary.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. Are you going to stand there and argue for 10 minutes? Are you going to argue for 10 minutes with the staff?
Yeah.
Or are you just going to get it and go?
Get her done.
I see it as what gets me in and out of there the quickest.
Yeah, if you're not taking low-paying orders, just fill it and leave is how I feel. Now, I mean, if you're taking like a $3.25, I'll definitely argue with somebody because I don't care if that food's cold.
Hey, Steve, I actually have a question for the panel. So with the point that I was making earlier with Grubhub charging a little bit more compared to DoorDash and Grubhub, they basically have a business model where whether or not the customer tips, because I see a lot of $1 tips on Grubhub, I think they base their pay model on whether or not the customer tips or not. So do you think DoorDash and Uber Eats could kind of do the same thing, or is Grubhub in the wrong for doing that?
Well, Grubhub is on their way out, so right. I mean, I don't know if it's based on that model, but
so you're saying that they pay the driver less if the customer tips more? Is that what you're saying?
No, the other way around. Basically, they I don't want to say guarantee, but like you see a lot of orders for $9-10 base pay that and the customers it's because the customer overpaid compared to DoorDash and Uber Eats, whereas you see a lot of $2-3 orders on DoorDash and Uber Eats where the customer didn't tip.
Well, so I just assume when they're that high, they've been sitting there for a while because there's times where, even on DoorDash, where you'll see an $8-9 one and you'll deliver it and there's no tip.
It takes a while, though. But like when the orders come in on Grubhub, it'll be $8 or $9 and the customer had just placed it. And there usually be like $1 tip. So Grubhub pays the bulk of the base pay, whereas DoorDash and Uber Eats, if the customer doesn't tip or if they tip low, then it comes in as $3 or $4 to begin with. Interesting.
Yeah, Grubhub in my market used to be, they were the first tier and they used to be balling, but now I barely get anything from them. So,
but look at even you and Gary both just said that that's what you use when you order.
Yeah, I've had the best service off of Grubhub. I don't know why. I mean, it's not about the fees. They all take you over
until yesterday. Or today.
Yeah,
his food was still warm. He ordered Chinese anyways. That stuff comes in like 1,000 degrees. So 500 degrees is still warm. I mean,
it wasn't.
One of y'all tell me whenever you go get Chinese, you get it there, you bring it all the way home. No bag in your own car. You get home, you still got to let it cool for 10 minutes.
I just burn my mouth.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I start eating, and then the roof of my mouth burns or my tongue or something.
And you know it's a bad idea too, and you still do it. Right?
Yeah, you can see the hot grease coming off the egg roll, and you still bite into it.
Yeah, those egg roll burns are the worst.
But yeah, Grubhub's always best for whenever I order, I believe, because like first off, it's always accepted immediately because they can see how much I'm paying.
Yep.
You know, I don't think I've ever had them deliver another order of mine. I tip more than 25% though. So
I mean, how much am I going to tip? I mean, it was
stop being cheap, Jason.
It was a $9 order. I paid like $20 with all the fees and the tip. I mean, geez.
I know. I tip drivers really well just because I am a driver, and so whenever I do order, I tip them really well. You know,
slammed on this show.
Yeah. You can invite me to your show. I'll do it to your show too.
I just feel like with what we're in, like, will leave at door ever go? Like, I feel like if we get rid of leave at door, half of our problems will just go away. Like the human interaction will be back, customer service will be back. The drivers who really don't care have to actually interact with customers. I just think it all goes away. I know.
And I think tips would be higher on Uber Eats.
Tips will be higher. Drivers will be happier. Like, I feel like it just solves a whole bunch of problems that we face as drivers every single day.
I agree. I would like to eliminate contactless deliveries. Right? I would. I don't like it.
During the pandemic, the United Kingdom, London didn't even ever have you had to hand it to them. You still had to do that through the whole pandemic. Mm-hmm. There wasn't leave it on the ground in the dirt.
Yeah.
How many contract violations will go away just because you're handing it to somebody? There's no more. I didn't get my order. Like it just all goes away. Problems just get solved.
Yeah. David was gonna say something, but we all got big mics, so we talked.
What were you gonna say, David?
I don't even remember.
He forgot. He forgot.
The big mic scared him away.
Well, okay, so this is kind of the bring around for this tonight is that with unethical business practices on the table with Grubhub, we've already seen it with DoorDash, all these others. What now? I mean, is there any ethical standpoint anymore for the drivers? I mean, I know, Gary, with your apps, it's filtering. People have had their issues with Para because they say that it's cheating, but these companies are coming out of the gate cheating. They always have, but now they're being sued left, right. I mean, everywhere. I mean, what is okay? Where is the ethical line? My standard is I have my own. We talked about this, but I mean, like, I'm just starting to think it's pretty generic now with these things starting to get crunched down more and more to the point where no drivers can be paid anything unless you're fishing for. I mean, it's just so sad that everybody on DoorDash, for example, has a 1% acceptance rate. That's a really sad thing. I don't know. I think it is. I think it's very sad that like you have to sit there all day and go, nope, 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 before you can take one or two.
Well, I'm 8%, so I'm not too far behind. So
right. So I mean, exactly. But I mean, so it's the good drivers who are in that lower than 10%. And then the new drivers, just like with Rideshare used to be, are up in the 80s, 90s for a while till somebody slaps them around and says, hey, what are you doing? Why are you taking all these? You're not making any money.
Well, this is what, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I feel like when the new drivers come in, the more drivers take these low ball, no tip orders, the more these companies are going to be like, oh, it's okay. We're still going to give it to the drivers because people are taking these orders. And they're going to say, okay, we're going to still hand them and we're still going to give them out because people are taking them. And they're kind of ruining it for the rest of the drivers out there that are trying to actually get the good orders and trying to make a living.
It's the same for the customer too. They're like, oh, this guy took the order without tipping. I'm just going to keep not doing this. Same thing.
it gives like the wrong message all the way across. It's bad for the driver because who's going to take a $2.75 order except the newbie driver? And for the driver, I mean, the customer, to your point, Jason, hey, I got my food for no tip. I'm going to continue to do this because it still came to be in the time frame that I want to. So I'll keep doing it as long as I keep getting my food.
Well, I told Steve, I think it was last week, that I don't think the orders will go away, but I think people that used it will stop tipping. Just like or tip less, like we've seen on Rideshare.
But that's one of the things is that, DoorDash admittedly is like, there's an article out on DoorDash putting the burden of drivers' earnings on the customer, knowing so. I see this being another lawsuit.
Well,
because they now said that they know this.
That's going to be a little bit tougher lawsuit, I think, for them, though, because they're a pass-through company, is what they say. They connect us to customers. That's their whole motto.
Right.
So they're going to argue, well, the customer would pay more because, direct customers, kind of like Uber does.
Well, this is kind of part of the thing that John and I talked about earlier this week. We were talking about Prop 22, out in California where he is. And Prop 22 makes up approximately 10% of your income, right?
Yeah, more or less.
So, that's admitting that we don't pay people well enough. Here's the makeup for it, and that's just for active time. So,
but okay. To be fair about that, though, some driver, I'm not saying John, but some of those drivers purposely take longer.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not. You know me.
I wait until the food gets cold.
I'm not for AB5 and I'm not for Prop 22 because I think it was too much wasted money and it will hurt the drivers in the end.
But let's face it, experienced drivers, they're smart. I like to think we're all smart, that we know what a good order is, John, in your case here in California, you kind of know, what orders are going to give you the most amount of money. Like, I don't know. I just feel like we're smart, and sometimes they think that we're not, and we're like, no, we're on to you.
Bad customers are going to be bad customers. It doesn't matter what it is. If they don't want to pay, they're not going to pay. Yeah. So it's a lot of people think that there's some secret to doing gig work. There's really not. Just accept what you're comfortable accepting.
Yeah, I think drivers are always looking for the cheat around, trying to get the most amount of money, opposed to just taking orders and taking good orders. I think that's just, weeding through the bad to get to the good, and not looking for the workaround, and just take the good orders. Like, that's what it's really not that complicated.
You're still gonna have select drivers that extreme cherry pick, which they can do. They're independent contractors. It's their money. I don't care. But I've seen breakdown of data, and I've seen drivers that will sit around for a whole hour waiting on an order, and they make the same amount as someone that continuously takes orders. And they both come out about the same as far as money. The only difference that they come out is wear and tear on vehicles.
Right.
So when I had Ron on here, he's top dasher here in Denver, and he only was doing this to test it out, and he takes everything right now. He used to cherry pick like nobody's business, but he's been taking everything, and he told me that the earnings are actually less, and that's not even counting in the difference in gas, just the earnings overall. If he, even without gas in the equation, he was making less taking every order. So proof that if you're not cherry picking, you're going to get screwed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I just don't know. To me, if I had one of these companies, I understand you want to flood the market. You want to have as many drivers out there as possible. But at the same time, man, like we've talked about, I don't want the scumbags delivering my food. I don't want my food sitting in your dirty laundry.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want it sitting on your dirty floor behind your seat.
Yeah,
it's
all about customer service. I'm telling you, it's full circle to customer service.
Yeah. So it's like the people with the lowest acceptance are the best drivers. They're the ones who are going to bring any kind of pride or really deserve a tip. I don't want cold food, somebody who's lazy in their pajamas, coming up to my door. I don't know.
I don't care what the hell you wear. If it's hot, you can come up nude. I don't give a shit. I'm not dating you. I'm just getting
Jason says that at the moment until he gets somebody like John walking up in a thong. And he's like, "Oh, I'm never using Grubhub again."
No, he's got to pay for that.
I'll tip extra for that.
So I gotta ask, because right now I don't see how, even if you're very experienced, I don't see how like everybody, like I see Bud Soda said he's using Maximo and driver utility helper. I don't know if he always was.
He was not.
Okay, so so perfect example though. He wasn't. He's been doing. Bud Soda works way too much. We all know this.
Yep.
Way too many hours. He's nothing bad on him. He's one of the hardest workers out there doing this, but he's killing himself. He's
He's working as we speak.
We've all said it directly to him, so it's not a...
Yeah, it's just, sometimes you got to take these breaks, and if you don't, they're going to creep up on you and get you.
I get it, though. He's going for, what is it, $100K this year
100K.
as a gig worker.
Wow.
That is great. You might have to put in hours, but, you got to think that's $100,000. If he can do it, that is awesome.
Right, yeah. What time or how much of your life has been taken off?
Well, that's up to him.
Stress, staying up 20 hours a day, drinking monsters like you guys, but doing it every hour.
We all do. Okay, first off, most people, they're awake for 16 hours a day plus.
Right.
Majority of people. He just chooses to make money during those 16 hours.
I know. I'm just saying that if you, as somebody who's had a salaried job where I have worked 15 hours a day under a salary, which is even worse, that when you do that, by the end of a year, you've aged 3 years. I'm not talking about like your lifespan or your health, but a little bit maybe. If you're living on monsters and driving around 16 hours a day, I would assume you're not doing very much for your body very good.
Well, it depends.
Your health,
like before there was electronic logs, I was a truck driver, and I drove 15 hours a day, every single day, all year round.
Did you drink monsters?
No, not at that time. No, actually, I didn't at that time. I actually drank a lot of water. But, it's just one of those things that your body does adapt to it as long as you're still getting sleep. I think they say 6 hours of sleep a night's all you need. So as long as you're still getting sleep, you can function great. It's just he's choosing to money and get out of debt. I will take $100,000 a year just to work more. If that first year got me out of debt doing that, I would definitely do it. Mm-hmm. And then the next year, guess what? I can scale back to 75,000.
I guess I'm just, I don't ever mind working hard. I can't see not taking a day off here or there. I can't see not having some time with my son, my life, something. You gotta, even if it's one day, even if it's a half day, whatever, you got to take some time in your life.
Well, you got
this stuff. This stuff will creep up on you. It'll be like, I'm crushing it, and all of a sudden, it's just you're gonna bottom out.
I'm gonna have to agree with Steve here because when I worked for a year straight with 3 jobs and doing gig delivery, I was burnt out and I was drinking monsters. I worked 7 days a week, 3 jobs, including gig delivery. And honestly, since then, I have recovered, but not 100%. So I have to agree with Steve. I don't think you can fully recover from doing something like that.
Yeah, I think it burns. It burns down to your soul even. You start to just, maybe I'm older than everybody. Maybe I'm starting to feel old.
Yeah, I do think you are old.
You are the oldest.
Jason, you got that far behind
me. I'm 46.
Steve, I think you're only a couple of years older, than I am. I think we're close to the same age.
That's right. Can make him feel old.
I'm turning 50 this year.
Okay,
You
no,
look good. You look
I'm a
good.
little.
I'm sorry.
Not a day younger.
So I have a question. Who gets asked this question more? Can you still get deactivated for using Para? And is there an iOS app for all your apps? Who gets the question more?
I don't know how many times David gets this question, but I definitely get probably 8-9 emails a day.
Oh, wow.
A day.
Damn.
Asking for an iOS version.
Oh my gosh. People just get an Android phone.
It's so much that I've already got the ticket, like Zendesk, we can create copy paste tickets, like it's already there. I just send it. Like
just respond with Android is the master race. That's it.
Yeah.
So I just saw this comment, which is kind of strange because earlier this person was asking
for there you go.
Yeah, was asking when the update was coming out, and now you're saying you don't use it. So, but David, I wanted to pop to you on this. I absolutely wanted to hit this. So, like, with all this going on and all the scrutiny of these unethical business practices, where is this why Para is kind of reappearing? Is because these companies have no ethics anymore, and really that fight is kind of over?
Yeah, I think it's really simple at the end of the day is people want to be able to make an informed decision, right? And I think this excuse, I understand cherry picking, but how I've always viewed this is at the end of the day, cherry picking is an excuse to hide information from people. You should just make the bad trips better, right? And if the bad trips are bad, and DoorDash or another company chooses to take those, that's a business decision for that company, right? So they want to allow people to pay for lower trips so that they can get more volume, in which case, if it's their business decision, they should pay for it, really. So that's sort of just really how I think about it. What's sort of a 100K a year is $174. Actually, seems realistic. I mean, if you work 365 days straight.
See,
exactly.
But before you move on there, David, I want to say that they could combat their bad order loss. If they know somebody's sending in something without a tip and it's going far, they could not send it to the restaurant until somebody accepts it.
Yep.
Then all they got to do is just pay a little bit of extra money for wait time for that driver. They minimize their whole risk as far as money wise.
Ooh, that's interesting.
But they choose not to do that. They choose to play games instead, which they spend more money playing games, hiring additional engineers, people from Vegas to figure out how to work drivers. They spend all these millions. And I've always said that if I create an app, I'm not sending it on until I know it's a good offer, because it's easier to say, oh, sorry, your order didn't get to you. Let me refund that money to you. Guess what? I'm not out any money because nothing was made.
I think it's the active decision. I think I agree very much with that. It's the active decision to get as much top line volume on their end as possible at all costs. And I agree, right? Hundreds of engineers have gone into building these systems that sort of play games with you. And at the end of the day, actually, you only need a handful of engineers to solve a lot of these actual problems. You have problems delivering to apartments. Guess what? That's a couple of weeks work for the right person, but they decide, it's just priorities, right? We will hire 100 super high paid people to play games with you rather than to fix actual problems. It's just sort of what they're prioritizing for.
Hey guys, I gotta head out. Thanks for having me on the panel.
Thanks, John.
Later, John.
Appreciate it. See you guys later.
So who pays for those refunds? Does anyone know off the top of their head? So
it depends on the store's contracts.
Okay.
Because each store, of course, they don't have a cut dry contract across the board. Every single place has their own contract. McDonald's has their contract. Burger King has their contract. It depends on how the contract's set up. But from whenever I was looking into it, because I was going to do a ghost kitchen, if the refund is due to a store issue, the store pays for it.
Okay.
So if they say, "Oh, I didn't get this item," then the store pays for it. This food is cold. Well, if it sat at the store for a long time, DoorDash would pay for it.
So let me ask you a question. So do stores set the parameter of how many miles out that they can deliver to? Because there are some really crazy orders out there that are going like crazy? 13, 15 miles, and you're like, are you kidding? But then I have a restaurant on the opposite end of my town, like 7 miles away, and I freaking can't even get Arby's. So I feel like it's like all over the place and not consistent. And I'm like, really?
Kim, isn't it always crazy when you're like, deliver Taco Bell 15 miles when there's one right down the street from you?
Right.
Yeah, like I'm like I just like I don't understand a lot of their logic half the time, and even from like, you know, customer standpoint, like you're expecting a driver to go 15 miles from the restaurant to your house and expect them to still do a $3 tip. It's never getting to your food. I mean, to your house. Yeah. At least for me, it's never coming to your house from 15 miles away for a $3 tip. So I feel like there's just such a disconnect on what restaurants are far away, closer. I don't know. I just feel like there has to be a balance at some point.
Well, see, the apps control which store you go to.
And by the way, I'm a big Bud Soda fan, so go Bud Soda.
But yeah,
we all are.
The apps control which store you go to. That's why you might go 15 miles for Taco Bell when there's one right down the road. But one interesting thing is, I don't know if DoorDash and Uber Eats still do this, but I know Grubhub still does. Some of the stores have a default time that it takes them to get their orders ready. So they might set their default time like, hey, it takes us 15 minutes to prepare an order. But yet DoorDash is still sending you there 3 minutes after the order's been accepted by the store.
Yeah, like Five Guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but David, back to the unethical practices. Like, is where Para's at now it's kind of like almost the same place as it was, but I feel like these companies don't even have a leg to stand on anymore. As far as ethics or getting into court cases or anything, I mean, it's like they can't bring up ethics and independent contractorship anymore. That's not really a fight they can have.
Yeah.
Is that something
here's how I put it, right? Is we are still still doing sort of exposing some information for DoorDash. That's helpful. We have sort of Grubhub that's come out. We have Uber Eats that is in closed beta that is happening right now. So I think we have a couple hundred people who are trying that out just to make sure that's good. If anyone's interested in trying out the Uber Eats version, let me know. I've always had this line, right, which is like, I just wish that the platforms would change and we wouldn't have to do this. I mean, then we'd have to figure out what else we do, right? But really, it's sort of my philosophy that, like, I hope that by doing all this, eventually, be it politically, be it ethically, be it the platform for some reason changing their mind, I hope that we don't have to do what we do, right? I think one thing that made me really happy, and I don't know if that had anything to do with us at all, but when we launched sort of Grubhub transparency, showing what the mileage was on a trip, a week or two later, they showed it to everybody. Sort of, I'm not sure if that's being rolled back now, at least, but there was suddenly a change that said, okay, we're going to show mileage on all the trips. And that's really where I want to get to, right? This is a right, I feel. So, as to what Para does after that, we'll find out.
Right. Well, I know there's a lot of things going on with Para. I'm just starting to wonder if, like, where it was a year ago or last summer, it's just kind of moved beyond that. Like, they're just like, look, we have 5 million lawsuits. We don't have time for anything more right now. Like, I mean, honestly, these companies are, I mean, I saw some comments earlier from Roy about, like, you can take them or not take them. Yeah, you can. But I mean, it's like now it's coming up in that big picture view of ethics.
Well, I didn't realize that I had this crazy stat the other day that I think Uber has like 250 to 300 in-house lawyers, right? So,
I would imagine they have more, but I'm thinking that because it's worldwide. I mean,
And I just think like when you talk about ethics, like Uber can't even come close to touching you guys for when it even comes to like tip baiting. Talk about unethical. Like, how do you even, say that it's unethical for someone to take a tip away from a driver, but yet it's unethical to use these apps? I don't know. I feel like there's a very big disconnect, and it'd be like it would no.
And the other side too is like, hey, if drivers are independent contractors, we're just taking full advantage of what that means. You can use whatever tool you want to run your business. You should have access to the underlying data that is also yours, and you should have competition for your time, right? Yeah. It's really that simple. And so if you bake a cake, you should eat your own cake.
Yeah. Are there any updates coming out for any of the apps that are now necessary to work these I can't even find the right word platforms though that we should know about? I think that Para is pretty much in place. I don't think there's anything updating with Maximo and DUH, but I think that more people need to learn about these and get them, because if this is what you're going to do, I think you almost need these apps now. I mean, yeah, even those of us who have been doing it for a while, I don't know.
Yeah, even the people that bitch about iOS, like seriously, just buy an Android phone. They're super cheap. I mean, I have iOS, I love it. Android sucks for the most part, but if you need it to make money, then you're going to do it, right? I mean, it's I pay $100 for my Pixel 4, and it's fine. I pay $20 a month with Xfinity Mobile, so it's like just do it. I mean, you're going to pay it off in like 1 month of using the apps correctly with and Maximo.
Yeah, I mean, like I am trying to get on iOS. I've had talks with a lot of people about it. I am working on a way to be put on iOS at least. It takes time. Everybody's got to remember, I am a solo developer. So, and I have like 7 apps that I develop. So it does take me a little bit more time to do stuff. I am working on it though. And I don't know if you guys seen this, but there's some states pushing. I know in Australia, New Zealand, they just passed these too. But you cannot touch your phone while you're driving, even gig work, not even one push. And so, DUH and Maximo and stuff, it does that for you based off your own filters. So if you don't have them, it's not, just use them because they're convenient. It's a safety issue too.
Yeah,
Gary, I think you're.
I agree with that. I always.
What?
I said, Gary, I think you're slacking there with those 7 apps.
Yeah. That's why all the Monster, right? You need Monster.
Yeah, that's. I have to work twice as hard as anybody else because I'm by myself.
Well, you just said you have 7 apps, right? Man. You should have only had 1 or 2 apps.
No, because see, here's what it is. I had 1 or 2. I had Maximo, and then some people say, "Oh, you know what? I need Amazon Flex, or and then I need Instacart. I need DoorDash. I need blah blah blah." David knows. He probably gets as many emails a day as I do. Everybody always wants something.
Well, quit being a cheap bitch and hire somebody to work with you.
Well, see, you have to have investors when you hire people, and I don't like answering the people.
Oh, I got you on that.
I don't have to say, oh yeah, okay, we got to do something to get revenue up, because if revenue goes down, well, that's just my pay. I don't have to worry about some other guy that has to support his family or something like that.
That's fair.
To me, it's like a huge thing on the safety thing you said earlier. Like for me, I remember when I first started multi-apping, I was up in Seattle driving at night in the rain. And I remember thinking, like, if I did this for a couple of weeks, I'm going to kill myself, basically. Right? Like, it's a matter of time before something happens.
It is for DoorDash. I mean, with the amount of orders you get coming in and declining, I wouldn't do it. I just stopped really using DoorDash until I started using those apps. Because, I mean, it was like 7 pushes to get it to decline something. I'm like not even looking at the road. I'm like, this is some scary stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a multi-apper true and true. So it is a safety issue. I mean, you get Uber Eats coming in, you have DoorDash coming in, you have Grubhub coming in, they're all coming in, and it does happen. They all come in at the same time, and you're like, nope, nope. And like you start to learn how to like slide your screens, but you're like, nope, still driving. But it is a huge safety issue.
You get so good at driving and just one eyeing it.
Yeah.
It's like the store is too far away. The pay is not high enough. Which one? Just let me click anything, right?
Yeah. Like you just over there tapping, you know.
And
You know, Steve said
like,
something a couple weeks back. We was talking about Teslas and how much we love the self-driving. And see, Tesla, you can do whatever you want with the Tesla while you drive.
Yeah, you even get the gas. You even get the gas credit with a Tesla.
there you go, win-win.
Crazy.
And in California, before we wrap this up, in California, that $400 we were talking about now is turning into $300 monthly.
Well, the $300 monthly is from the feds.
Yeah,
the $400 is from California. So you'll
this
actually
is just
get
money
two
to stay in
checks.
California. That's all it is.
No. The 300 monthly is it's nationwide.
Really?
Yeah, it's from the feds. The $400 is from California. The $300 is from the feds.
Yeah, I saw an article today about it. There's some lawmakers pushing some legislation for. It's weird. It's for people who have families, like people with
I
multiple
think it's
kids.
2 kids or more. And
Yeah.
No, the one I read is based off the same thing that stimulus checks were based off of. You know, the income levels. I think it's 75,000 or less for single and 150 for married or whatever. But it's also capped at 2 cars. So if you have 2 cars, you get 2 checks.
So if you don't have a car and you still follow those parameters, you don't get any check.
No, yeah.
Even though somehow you have to do transportation, they don't care.
Yeah, the one I was reading today, you had to have like 2 kids in order to qualify for it. I don't know whether it's the same one or not.
I don't know either. I mean, they're always redrafting bills back and forth before they get finalized. But
so in California, you get to double dip. Are you getting 2?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get 400 and
state and federal is 2 different things.
Right, so you can get $700.
Yep.
Wow.
Nice.
But California is capped at 2 cars as well.
Yeah, but $700 is that's I guess that'll
but
keep them there,
it won't
man.
be 700 though. If you got 2 cars, then you get 400. That's 800. Is 1100. If you're in California, you have 2 cars.
Steve, in San Francisco, $700 is 1 parking spot a month to rent.
Yeah, like that's not gonna go to the gas.
That's in the dark alley next to the trash can.
We've talked about this, David. You and I have talked about the San Francisco thing. Only the 1% and the homeless can afford San Francisco.
I don't know.
I had the shock of my life when I moved to San Francisco from Vegas. I'm like, everything costs 3 times as much, and I'm certainly not making 3 times as much.
I thought about visiting there one time, and I looked at the hotel prices. I was like, nah.
Yeah, and now the whole city is kind of. I don't even know. I've been going out there for my whole life, and I think it's a great city, but I'm not sure what state it's in right now. But yeah, that's kind of it, guys. This is a lot to digest. This Teamsters thing is scary to me. I think that it's a bigger story than people think. I think there's a lot more down the line looking at these teaming up, and I think you all know my stand. There's a time and a place, but the gig economy is not a place for unions, period. There's just bottom line is there's no money to be taken away from the workers.
Right.
No matter where you stand with all this, if you want to be part of a union, all that, this, that, and the other, there's just no money left to be taken away from the workers. You can't take union fees out of nothing.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on this panel is going to argue with you about union.
No.
So, I just don't see where these NYC, Yellow Cab, Uber, Teamster things, these are 3 parties that hated each other. Now they're making deals, and they're doing it in Washington State, and they're all sitting in the same room together and coming up with these horrible ideas, worse than normal. I know that's pretty much how they've always done, but it's like, who's got the worst idea at the table? I do.
We'll go with that.
So, but we'll wrap this up, guys. I just wanted to hit on all this stuff and make sure that you guys are using Maximo and the driver utility helper. And if you feel like it, you should check out Para. Because I know that everything. As far as I see it now, everything's fair game.
I agree with David though. I mean, I think we should have our transparency.
Yeah, it's like the union thing. I think we all agree that we would. I mean, just give us the transparency. That solves everything. I mean, because then you could just straight up go. I mean, it's the rideshare way is the easiest way for me to relate to it. Show me the whole trip. Show me the distance. Show me where I'm going. I know my city. I know what time of day I'm working. Show me what it pays, and I'll decide.
I had to give Gary a shout out back too. It's like, you should be able to use whatever tool you want to run your business. He's making drivers' lives safer, right? And making it easier for people, and the platform should make it so that at the end of the day, using Gary's app, you're still doing the work. Right, so I don't understand why anybody would have a problem with it.
Still doing the work based off your own personal preferences.
Right, because I mean, some people live, and we've talked about this. Some people live in rural areas. Some people live in big cities. So I mean, those preferences change every 10 miles too that you travel. I mean, you could be in rural and you need to set it way different than you would downtown.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Steve. I mean, I honestly didn't know much about PAR until, you did the interview with David, and, now I'm joining you guys right along with you, but it really does help weed through. And also Gary, your app, through using everybody's, utility helpers, it really does help drivers really make informed decisions, which we can't do without some of these assistants that are out there.
Which is, which is great that these guys do it, but it's sad they have to, and that's kind of the point.
I agree.
And the thing is, like some of these apps, like Uber, they give you 6 seconds while you're driving down the road to decide if you want that rideshare trip. Lyft too. 6 seconds is not enough time for me to look down at my screen while I'm driving and make a decision.
They don't want you to think.
Yeah, that's exactly what that's why they came out with the radar, because they just want you clicking right away.
Yeah,
they just want you to go yes, and we're like no.
We just gotta get Kim on Android.
I know, I do. iOS girl, but I will say I am getting an Android because I need it for YouTube World as well. So why not get it for YouTube and Business World at the same time? So
you get a Pixel on eBay, very cheap.
Pixel is a pure Google phone. It doesn't have any bloatware, and you can use it forever. So
okay.
I have a Pixel 3. It runs just as well as this iPhone 12 here. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So I didn't know they were super cheap, but okay.
Well, eBay. If y'all don't know, eBay's still around.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know that.
I sell a few things.
What are they, a seller on Amazon now?
Craigslist. I found my last 2 places I've stayed in Craigslist. Right?
Oh my God!
Craigslist? Seriously? You're not afraid to be murdered?
Are you afraid of that?
Let's talk about something that's still around, man. Craigslist is for like weirdos and weird meetups, man.
Yeah. Hey, I mean that's what you need to find cheaper rent in San Francisco, right? So.
Hey, they're hustling out there, not for money, just to find somewhere to stay.
Honestly, I've found places I've lived on Craigslist too, though. To be honest,
well, I did in the 90s.
I don't even think I did it in the 90s.
Well, I want to thank you guys for all coming on. Always a lot of fun. Kim, thanks for joining us. David, thanks for joining us. Jason, thanks for joining us. Hannibal, thanks for joining us. Gary, thanks for joining us. And everybody else, thanks for joining us. And I think I went over, but there was a lot of people in here. I did my best.
Good.
Okay.
It's a fun time.
Good night, everybody.
Later. Right.
Thanks.
A driver that drives for Uber and Lyft. Joe currently uses multiple phones to efficiently drive for Uber and Lyft. But this can be a pain at times and very unsafe. That was until Joe found Maximo, the rideshare app that automates Uber and Lyft ride requests. Maximo will use the filters set by Joe, like time, distance, and passenger rating, to determine which rides are best suited for Joe. When a ride request comes in, Joe doesn't need to worry. Maximo will automatically accept the ride request that matches his filters, and then turn off the app that isn't currently on a ride. Once Joe finishes the ride, Maximo will turn everything back on. This will allow Joe to focus more on his passengers and driving safe.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rodeo Roundtable. And I guess we're going to start right now and address the elephant in the room, or the Steve in the room. Oh, Steve's not in the room. Steve is down bad, as the kids would say. He had 2 molars pulled. Then, a day or so later, he contracted COVID from his son. So he is down bad. Not doing very well. He's doing better. We can say he's doing better, guys, or Gary. But right now he is resting. He trusted us to kind of continue the conversation with the gig economy and the gig industry, so that we're going to do that in this chat today. So we have our guest, John Dairy TV. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing, Hannibal?
I'm doing great. This is the first time I actually talked to you on a live stream, so I'm excited to talk to you. And obviously we have Kim Side Money Plans. We talked yesterday with UDM, so I'm glad to talk to you again. How you doing?
Hey, everyone. How are you?
And we got Gary.
Yeah, we're gonna screw this up. Steve entrusted the wrong people.
How dare you? Don't do that. We're gonna start. We're gonna have a great.
We're gonna do great. We're gonna do great, and we all hope Steve gets well quickly.
Yeah. Anytime you get your teeth pulled is a pain. Like I've went down that road, but I never had COVID on top of that. So hopefully he'll do better. I mean, he really tried to make sure that this show continued to go on. That's how the kind of guy Steve is. And actually, Pedro put on a campaign to get each gig tuber, the ones that he watches, he appreciates, to 1K. I think he put Steve on. He's kind of promoting his channel, which is important because Steve talks about a lot of things that we need to know about the gig economy, the laws of legislation, a lot of stuff that we don't really pay attention to because we're all about getting that money. And even, I'm a victim of that too. I'm more worried about getting money, but these legislations, these laws can really affect what we could do in the future. And, we may all become employees. I mean, especially the laws that's coming in the next couple of months. So we have a list. Steve gave us a list. So we can kind of go down that list. Okay. Right, Gary?
Yes. We do got a very long list and
a very extensive
list. But it's great. If you're looking at the list, it's actually a lot of, makes you kind of think moments, like for the future. If you're planning on doing something like this for the future, long term, you're like, well, these are probably something that you're going to have to talk about or think about long term.
So the first thing, a movie documentary, The Gig Is Up, directed by Shannon Walsh. It's already out, from what Steve said. So actually, I think I'm gonna watch this, and I don't know, maybe I'll make a video about it myself, or at least we'll have a conversation in a couple of weeks when Steve comes back. The Gig Is Up is a documentary about the gig apps, gig app developers. According to IMDb, I just looked this up. App developers lured a massive labor force by promising flexible hours with no offices or bosses, but the gig workers from Uber, Amazon, Lyft, and more in front of the camera. The human cost of disruption runs deep. Okay, so just by reading that synopsis, you kind of already know where it's going to go. It's going to go where the gig ad companies are exploiting the labor force. So we haven't watched it, but just that line itself, John, do you think the gig ad companies are exploiting the labor force?
On a big picture perspective, definitely do. Every time you turn around, you hear somebody talking about something that these gig apps are doing to try to become profitable, because they're not profitable right now. But ultimately, trying to cut a corner, trying to squeeze, blood out of a rock here and there. It's So overall, that's, I think, what they have to do. Now, I wish that wasn't the case. I think when it first started, that wasn't the case. It was more of a side hustle. Definitely gave people a lot more options to make money on the side, and it wasn't as exploitative. But I think as costs get higher, it's they're not raising any prices. So it's like I said, costs get higher and they're not raising any wages.
Kim, I don't feel like I'm being exploited. I don't necessarily feel that. Sometimes, not necessarily by the apps, but at home. I'm just kidding. And what do you think?
Defamation lawsuit. That's what you got to do, man.
Do you think that these apps are exploiting the labor force people, us, me, you? Like, what do you think?
I don't know whether it's exploiting. I think it's false advertising sometimes. I mean, how many times do you see work for DoorDash get, X dollar per hour, and they make it sound like this glamorous thing, and there's kind of reality that we all live behind. So I don't know whether you consider that exploiting. I just don't think it's reality sometimes to a lot of people who go into this. And I think a lot of times you have to go into gig work with like wide open eyes, opposed to, everything is fantastic. And I feel like that's like the vibe you get when you think about, or you're new to these companies, like, oh, that's the best thing ever. And then you really start to work the apps and kind of see, what each one is all about. But you can make really good, decent money. So I don't want to say they're exploiting, because we're out there making a living every single day. So that's
yeah, I feel that way too. Like I'm, and maybe it's just a small amount or a small segment of gig workers that we spend all this time watching content and researching things and reading things. So, hot facts. Robert Reese put in, we only feel exploited because we really do not know how much money is really going in. Yeah, obviously, the algorithm is definitely something that, and Gary could talk about this, that I feel like there's some exploitation or some manipulation there. And that's why the apps that Gary makes, creates, and maintains along with the Power app, like those is like, that's our equalizer. But Gary, what do you think in terms of the algorithm exploiting the labor force? Like, do you agree that that's a possibility?
You have to bring it down to what do you consider exploiting? I would say more abusing than exploiting.
What do you think what's the difference? I mean, you're smart.
Well, like when you abuse people, like if I know John is going to take $5 orders, but Kim's not going to take anything below $8 order, why would I send it to Kim first when I know I can send it to John first and have it accepted? Mm-hmm. That is abusing it versus exploiting it. Because like exploitation is, hey, yeah, you're going to make, like Kim said, you're going to make this much an hour. You're trying to trick people into doing stuff. Abusing with algorithms is what I would say they do. They know what somebody's going to accept. They know how far they're going to go. At the end of that algorithm, though, if they don't have John available, then they will have to send it to Kim.
Mm-hmm. Oh, John, you want to say something?
Yeah, I would say I think it's kind of the other way around, more of an exploitation than an abuse, because I see that, like, using a similar example rather. If you think, hey, John will take $3 orders, then we're going to try to get, every order as minimum as possible to John, because that's his minimum. On the other side of the coin, if Kim will only take as low as $6 orders, we're going to try to, get as many orders to her as low as possible, but also give the upside too. And when it comes to exploitation, I think it's not abuse, because I think the drivers and as workers ourselves also try to find as many exploits as we can with the apps to try to get the most that we can out of these apps as well. Mm-hmm. So although it's an exploitation, I do think it's almost a mutual exploitation as much as possible, or at least the best of us, we try to exploit them as much as possible as well.
See, I've always said that too, John. Like, a lot of people can complain about how gig work or how gig companies do things, but at the end of the day, we do the exact same thing. We're going to try and make as much money as possible. The gig companies are going to try and make as much money as possible. So I would have to agree there. It is a mutual thing.
Yeah, it's like it's like a really not the best relationship you can possibly be in, but the high times are really great. Like, you know, there's benefits to that kind of relationship compared to maybe not the most stable of relationships. Before I even continue on, I didn't say hi to the chat. That's a common thing. Steve does that pretty well, at least when he's doing it. Bud Soda, Thomas, Freestyle. I think I saw Robert in there as well.
Robert Reese, Hot Facts.
Yeah, Hot Facts. Nazareth Sullivan, if I pronounced that right. What's up? Gigaholic Rex, how you doing? Just want to look at everybody. Marissa, how you doing? Flex, what's going on? Jose Batista, what's going on, boy? Pedro's in. What's up? Just don't take $3 orders. Hey, people. Pedro will go down and make sure he lets everyone know. Do not take any no tip orders.
Yep. His no tip, no trip 2.0.
No tip, no trip.
We lost one.
Oh, we lost John. Hopefully he'll come back. But actually, I want to talk to Kim real quick before we move on to the next topic. Hopefully John comes back on. We talked about we was on a live stream with UDM on Wednesdays with Jaywalk and Kim. I was invited, and it was an interesting comment, Kim, that you talked about when you try to become top dasher. They started, and this is something similar to what Gary and John are saying. They started throwing you so many bad offers to a point you had to tap out, like, I'm out. This is just not going to work. Do you think the algorithm was literally just saying, wait a minute, she's taking all these bad orders, so just keep taking? Like, do you think that's actually happening in the algorithm where before, you weren't doing that, but since you were trying, they were like really throwing those offers out, like you were taking them now, so let's see how many you can take before you give up?
Yeah, I mean, Gary probably knows algorithms better than I do, but I really do think that, and I have nothing to base this on, but I feel like if I take making this up, a 7-mile order, like your next 2 orders are going to be like 8 miles, 9 miles, because they're like, oh, she took this order, so might as well keep sending her some long distance orders. But at the same time, like you take a $5 order and then you start to see all these like low ball orders too. So I definitely think there is, a theory and an algorithm behind it. What that is, I have absolutely no idea, but I truly believe if there are drivers out there willing to keep taking $2.75 order, I actually think I said this last week on the Roundtable, if drivers keep taking these $2.75 orders, I think DoorDash is like, okay, well, we're going to keep it at $2.75 because we have people who are actually taking these orders, and it's like they're actually hurting the cause opposed to helping people get more money in their pocket. So I definitely think there's definitely something to it.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't.
So I told you it's that algorithm. It knows what you're going to do. Yeah. It just does. The more you do something, it's going to know. The longer you work for DoorDash, the longer, or any gig company, because they all use, and I say this, like Uber, Lyft, they started hiring casino managers from Vegas for their companies.
Oh,
it's funny, Gary. You were gonna say that. I said it almost feels like, and I was gonna say it feels like a slot machine. Like if you ever go, I have Atlantic City by me, but you go to a slot machine and you keep betting $1, like the machine starts to know your patterns and how you're betting. So if you, I hate to say, if you trip it up and all of a sudden bet $5, it's going to be like, oh, what is this person doing? And then you actually start to win a little bit, but then you get into a pattern and you go like, oh, I can win more, $5. And it's kind of like the same concept.
Yeah. I mean, they wanted to keep you happy a little bit. Like, so some days you're going to have a good day and then you're like, okay, this person was down bad for a little bit. Why I keep saying down bad? Whatever. Yeah, well, all right, let's give him a good day. Let's give him a good day. Let's give him some decent offers. I think that's exactly what's probably is happening. John, you have anything to add on that one before we move on?
No, I think I kind of agree with that. I think the algorithm tries to get you to take the lowest amount of order that you'll take possible, and probably kind of like a casino, every now and then gives you a big one and make you think, oh, they're going to get a big one and come. I'm going to get a run anytime. In reality, it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
That's probably a great way to put it together. We're going to go another, I guess, on the list, Steve's list. According to Food Wine Magazine, because that's the magazines that Steve reads.
He is very elegant with his wine.
He's a Renaissance man. You gotta make sure what does the best wine to pair with his steak, that kind of thing. Which is no wrong with that. Let me see. Here are the delivery space platforms' share of sales for March 2022. So this happened last month. Grubhub had 14%, Uber Eats had 24%, Postmates is 3%, but we'll just put it Uber Eats. DoorDash was 59%. Although food delivery apps grew over 6% year by year, they're doing less orders. So people are ordering or spending more. On the flip side, not as many orders are coming through. He also wanted to ask you guys, have you seen, because you guys are full-time, gig, or at least you guys put a lot of effort into gig work and you've been doing it for quite a while. Do you remember your earnings from last year this time? And has it been the same, more or less? I'll start with Gary.
Okay, before we get into earnings, let's talk about the spending more. Do we actually think that customers are spending more, or that fees are just higher?
I think it's the fees, because the items are becoming more expensive. So So I'm that's my mind when I said spending more, not necessarily buying more food. Is just the food cost has increased. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
I definitely think it's fees, because just Uber alone, I mean, they haven't that additional fee for the drivers for the gas prices. So you keep upping the fees here, there, and everywhere. You start making more money off of the profit, not off of the customer.
I know. Every time I open the apps, I'm like, okay, I don't want to leave. I put in my order, and I'm like, ooh, I better go get in my car.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pick this up. You know what? I don't want to.
You know what's amazing though? The other day I ordered, and I actually ordered. I didn't want to leave because it was raining and everything, and I got on the app and I ordered from Marco's Pizza. And and then right after I hit submit, 2 minutes later they call me and they say, "Yeah, we canceled your order because we don't have drivers out here." I'm like, it's DoorDash, but Marco's is they're canceling. They were canceling every order that came through from DoorDash because, like, I live remote area, so to get somebody to come out here, I guess their orders were piling up, and they're like, nope, just kept canceling all their orders.
They're just wasting money at this point, and just making food.
So, but they gave me a really good deal to come pick it up instead, so that worked out.
Okay, fair enough.
But as far as earnings last year to this year, last year, of course, we had the pandemic. Everybody was at home. So, yeah, my earnings were higher than they are this year.
John, what was your – I know you're a numbers guy.
Yeah.
You got all that mapped out. So I'm sure you already have that somewhere in an Excel sheet somewhere.
So my numbers are up, but it's because I'm a better two things. A, I've learned more. I'm a better gig worker. And plus I think a different mix of apps. So it's not necessarily apples to apples.
Yeah, because you do more of the grocery stuff now, right?
Definitely started doing more of that lately. I found it higher paying. And so that's why I think I've seen an increase in my earnings.
Now, how long have you been doing this, John?
Is all the gig apps or just grocery?
Yeah. Well, all the gig apps. Like, when did you start gig work?
So my first gig work I started was in 2019, but I was doing it part-time at that time. Full-time gig work was probably middle to late 2020, early 2021.
Okay. So right as the pandemic started then.
Yeah.
So you were still kind of relatively new on everything then?
Right.
So would you say that helped as well with your earnings being higher this year compared to last year?
Yeah, definitely. Just learning stuff, learning YouTube, and then learning stuff from YouTube, right. And then applying it. Power come out, and then different things. Just so that's why I think a big part of it is just becoming better at gig work, becoming more experienced.
Yeah, I remember watching some of his first videos. He was showing everybody how to use the DUH export video, and he was taking all my data, and I think I put a lot of stuff into my app, but he just takes it further.
Yo, smart, yeah, man. Dash Theory is smart as shit. Oh, sorry, stop, no cursing. Yeah. He's smart, and he's been putting out content for quite a while. We look like we're related, but he's been putting that's one of the interesting things that Dash Theory he had a video a while ago, like really before. I think it was when I made a video about Mr. Bentley talking about how food, like grocery, was going to be like, okay, that would be like the next place where you're going to probably make a good amount of money. So he's well ahead of the game, and you definitely want to check him out. Definitely. Kim, you didn't say how much money you made. I mean, you don't have to say that.
I'm making equivalent, if not more, but to John's point, I've added more into my mix since last year. Like I added Point Pickup, I added Spark, and those have kind of added to my mix and have added to my earnings. So I feel like I'm gaining more, but working less hours, if that makes any sense. So I'll say some days they're equivalent, some days are more. It just kind of depends on what's going on and what the apps are doing. I mean, I had a really good weekend last weekend, and I also keep I'm a numbers girl that I like to give myself goals. So like I'm always challenging myself differently. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Okay. And everyone in the chat, let us know, like, if you've been doing this, using the apps, are you making more? You're making less, the same? I think it's a balance between skills, applied strategy. The longer you've been doing it, the more you can know how to navigate it compared to someone who's just started. And the apps, and like the mix, what John's saying, the mix of the apps, which is extremely important, where like I see Pedro doing Instacart. Now I don't know why he's doing it. He like
I've noticed that too.
Yeah. So like you wind up doing things you didn't think you were going to do a year ago compared to now. So I think that's what you need to do when you're doing this, where you don't have a steady path of income. Like you have to do certain things that you didn't expect you were going to do a year ago. So let me see, checking the list to make sure I got all the questions right. But yeah, Mr. Flex, he said his week was trash. I'm sorry. Yeah, and you're gonna go through those times. I feel like last year was better for me. I'll just say like that in terms of picking up the food delivery. Last year was better. This year, obviously, I was doing other things, but last year seemed to be a little better, except when the summertime hit. I guess hopefully we'll have this roundtable during the summertime, because last year I was getting wiped out. Like nothing was working in terms of the apps. It was just low offer after low offer.
Now, see, I always felt bad saying this. Well, during the summer by my area, because I'm by like the shore and the beach, like my area skyrocketed during the summer, and that's actually when I made like the most amount of money in my area. And then I had a lull during like December and January. That's when I felt the dip. And then now that summer and the nice weather is approaching, my area is going back up again. But I'm going to say this too, like by signing up for more apps, it's given me more opportunities and more ways to cherry pick and more opportunities to gain more money, because you have more opportunities to pick whatever order is the best. So I always say go where the money is. So by having all these opportunities, you can actually go where the opportunity is to make more money. And I think that's why some of the days and some of the weeks I'm more successful, just because the more I add, the more opportunities I have.
And before we move on to the next one, I just want to ask everyone here, are you working more hours or the same hours compared to last year? More, same, Gary?
I'm working less than last year, because last year the only thing we could do was work. I mean, everything was pretty much shut down. So this year everything's open.
Okay.
So I mean,
John, are you working less or more?
John?
I would say I'm working about the same, but I'm making more per mile. So I'm, some weeks definitely less, but I think I'm working about the same, but making more per hour.
And
I'm working the same. Sometimes days are less. It just kind of depends on, personal wise, what I have going on in my personal life. So it kind of depends on my days, but for the most part, my schedule really never changes.
Cool.
Now, what about you, Hannibal? Because you dropped food delivery, right?
Yeah, so definitely less. What was that?
My pit bull. Hold on.
Aww.
And say, Hannibal, are you doing your rover right now?
That's not me. That's Gary.
Hey, you can come walk him.
If you pay me, I'll walk him. No problem. I'll give you my rates. I'll give you the whole thing. Okay, so we're gonna go into the meat of this conversation, the thing that Steve should be here to talk about. The laws that's happening throughout the country, basically trying to make us into employees, right, Gary? Like, if I had to put it in one sentence, maybe you disagree. What are these laws? And we're going to be talking about California, we're talking about Washington, Massachusetts. Like, what are they trying to do with us gig workers?
Long term, I believe that they're trying to make us employees.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I mean, I think we would all probably agree with that.
Yeah. So California has the AB5, then they got the Prop 22, where you get 120% of your minimum wage on active time. And it was a good conversation to have. Was it last week or week before, with people who are in Prop 22? It was a Sunday and also last week, where we kind of thought, I think it's a common idea. If you're not in California, you think that you could just log on to the app, decline, you're still getting paid, which I thought that too. I didn't realize, like, no, it's about active time. You have to be on the app. So even the ideas of being a top dasher, well, yeah, top dasher may not be the best thing for most of us, but if you in California in some really crazy good market, and you may take a bad order, but as long as you're active, you're still getting Prop 22 money. So it's a lot more going on there. And also there was a thing about multi-apping, and you're able to still get paid to different apps. Gary,
we touched on that on I believe it was the Sunday stream when we had Dark Road Run, and who else was, I forget who all was on there, but we touched about it on Sunday's live stream that you can multi-app and get away with it, but now that is not mine.
That's not me.
That's a Chihuahua or something.
Oh, you have all the dogs. I should have brought my dog here. So we all okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
So it's allowed, and apparently you can get away with it. So if you pick up, one Uber order, one DoorDash order, one Grubhub order, and you're doing them all at the same time, well, you're getting paid active time for all of them. But what Steve found out by talking to, and I know I'm to probably get the lady's name wrong, Kim, I believe is what he said. One of the AB5 or one of the legal people out there in California,
right,
said that it's supposed to be prohibited and that they are planning on cracking down on that.
Yeah, which you would assume that would have been like the first thing they would have done when they implemented this. Like, hey, what happened if they all have, they apply for multiple apps and, they're all on active time? Like, how's that going to work? So it's great to work now, but eventually they're going to basically knock that out. So, which is interesting why or how their approach is. Unions are starting to have the no multi-apping rule in California enforced, and drivers will be fined.
Wow.
It doesn't say how much the fine will be, but this is the unions are pushing this.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like
how are they going to find out, Gary? You'll probably know that better than all of us. How do they find out if you're multi-apping?
Well, what I'm going to figure is currently, and I mean, there's no way for us to prove this, but we say that they data share between companies currently. So, for example, if you get deactivated from Uber, for some reason, less than a couple days go by and you get deactivated from Lyft. And it just always happens that if you do something like if your license gets suspended, they both deactivate you at the same time. And we believe it's data sharing, or if you get, customer reports some kind of violence against them, you'll get deactivated from multiple platforms. So what we're believing is that they data share. So I wouldn't see why they wouldn't be able to do that as well in this case. I doubt that they're going to work 100% together. Like, they're not going to give too much data back and forth that affects their own platform. But I don't see why they wouldn't be able to say, okay, well, today Kim, from 10 to 11, she was working 45 minutes active time. And then, Grubhub's gonna be like, oh, well, she was working 45 minutes active time for us as well. And there's not that much time in an hour. So that's what I would assume they're gonna do.
But I would say that also sounds kind of thinking from like the app's point of view, kind of backwards, because you basically are going to need, more workers now because you can't have anybody multi-apping. So it seems like it's more inefficient from the big picture perspective.
But they have millions of workers though.
Everything is oversaturated out there.
I could see that point. I think they don't want to be taken advantage of. And I think if they will share data where they're not, someone's not doing 3 apps at the same time to get paid, then so be it. And also, I guess it would help them in terms of competitiveness. Like, okay, well, then I can only do 1 app. Which app is going to be? Yeah. And that will push. I mean, DoorDash will definitely. And mind you, Prop 22 was sponsored, or at least all these apps, all these companies were okay with it. So I'm guessing if the unions are pushing to try to make us employees by making us do 1 app at a time, that's just the way it's going to go. And whoever is the best company will win throughout that situation. Grubhub will not win, obviously, because Grubhub has been going downhill ever since. Kim, what do you think? I mean, you're not in California, but last week there was, I forgot the content creator's name. She said that I think it was Picky Pink or something like that. That multi-apping was to get money from Prop 22 was inappropriate and dishonest. Do you have that same view?
For
Prop 22 though, not in California.
I never judge anybody for making the money however they want to make their money. I mean, if you want to go multi-app, good for you. It's not the way that I personally work. I'm a 1 order at a time type of girl, but I know people who do advanced multi-apping. So, I'll never knock anybody for doing it the way that they need to do to survive and to make their own money. I can understand from a company's perspective, it could look like people are double dipping and triple dipping. So, I mean, if you think about it, I'm working for DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub, taking orders all at the same time. You're kind of getting Prop 22 from all 3 companies for the 1 hour that you're working. So it's almost like you're tripling the system more than what it was probably intended to initially do. So, I mean, I can understand it. I can see where they're coming from, but I'll never knock anybody for trying to get their hustle on and doing what they need to do to make the most amount of money.
I feel you. How many people are doing that though? I mean, yeah, in this community, yeah, I'm sure you guys are dirty multi-apping, taking 15 orders, walking the dog while doing that. But I'm just saying, like, how many people in California are really doing it? I don't know. We don't have the numbers, but obviously it may be a problem where, yeah, they don't want to be paying more money than they have to for the work being done. So, but it's weird the unions are doing this. And then there's another thing here, Steve put in. They have also begun a campaign that will require drivers to pick up 10 6-hour blocks a week where they can work. So
now, what does that sound like to you? I mean, if you stop right there, like you're at a job, Kim had it right.
40 hours a week? No.
Yeah, meaning you can have the app on, but does not guarantee any amount of active time worked.
That defeats the whole purpose of what we do and why we do it. Like, I do this for the flexibility.
Yeah, I mean,
I might work the same schedule every day, but I want to have the option that if I want to go home in an hour, I can. If my daughter is sick, I can run home and go tend to my family. Like, that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is for the flexibility to work it around my family. So, no.
Yeah, no, right? Like, okay, so you get to pick the 6-hour blocks, and then you may just be on, but you may not be active. So you may have just wasted your block by picking the wrong one, or there's too many drivers on. So like you're not making money that way.
He did tell me before you jumped on with us, Hannibal, that there can be multiple drivers on those blocks. It's not, there's a certain set amount of drivers per block. Okay. It's just basically you have to pick 10 blocks or 10 6-hour blocks a week to work, and that's what you can work. So, and the way he was explaining it, if I understood it right, it's kind of like Grubhub system, where you go online, you pick your blocks if you want to work on block, but multiple drivers can do that as well.
Right.
See, what sounds kind of crazy to me, because it's making you work 6-hour blocks, which is a long block in the first place. I know me personally, I'd usually do 3 to 4 hours maybe before I take a break.
Me too. Yeah. I don't do those long. Yeah.
And then I think the other part is that 10 of them, that's a lot of blocks a week of that size, period.
Sound like they want you to be available for full-time hours, right?
Pretty much.
Like full-time hours.
It sounds just like a W-2. Like, hey, we're gonna need your schedule, or what
when
you can
available.
work.
Tell us your availability.
Availability. Yeah, there we go. That's the word I was looking for. We need your availability so we can go ahead and get that schedule locked in.
And it still will do something that's not in your availability anyway. Like, I didn't put but we really need you for that day though. So figure it out.
Even though you requested off, and you still have to come to work anyway, even though you requested off. And
appreciate sister. Yeah,
don't talk about request off.
Can you tell I'm so anti W2?
Yeah, I am too, especially with the request off thing. Like, my vacation is my vacation, my personal time is my personal time. I'm not requesting. I'm telling you, I'm not going to be there. It's not a request. I'm telling you.
The last W2 was a manager, and I couldn't stand dealing with that, like people requesting off, and it was a whole thing, because you need them, and then you need it was a whole thing.
I used to do a schedule for hundreds of people, and
everybody's happy.
Everybody's availability, everybody's request offs, and you try to make everybody happy. You make nobody happy. You still have to run a business. It's like, no, and they're like, no. I feel like I'm like, no.
And the scary thing about this, that the unions are trying to push this to go in effect before November. Like, how is that even? That's so fast. Like, that's crazy.
Wait, what state is this again?
This is in California. This is all California.
Okay.
Well, and remember, we was talking about this too. Like, why? Before we kept asking, well, why are the unions even part of this? Why are they even involved? And I still don't understand why the union is pushing for this to go in effect.
Well, I think Hannibal mentioned a word earlier. I think he said some fines or fees that the unions would get. And I think, capitalist America, the unions have a boss somewhere that wants to get paid just as much.
So that's a good point right there, John. So if they get caught multi-apping, so if you're doing Uber Eats and DoorDash at the same time, you get caught, you get fined. The money's going. Where would that money go?
That's a question for Steve, since he wrote this note.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. Steve. Hopefully, Steve is resting his body.
I'm sure he is.
But
yeah. To your point, I would assume, and I have no idea how unions work, but I would assume the unions want to get involved because they want drivers to pay the dues that are associated with the unions, and therefore they get paid and they get a piece of what's going on in California. In that way, they say that they're for the workers, and they're on their side, and it's like a vicious cycle of stuff.
Right. See, Kim, that's gonna be my next question too, is are they gonna force all these drivers to pay union dues? If the union's pushing for this,
if you're part of a union, you would have to pay dues.
And then that comes into question. Well, when you join a union, there's got to be some type of benefit for you joining that union. So what are the unions going to give back to the drivers?
Well, are you guys, are they going to ever pay them, any health benefits, any benefits to go with the job? Because to me, then you're a W-2 employee, so you might as well start paying me some benefits to work on the clock, because that's exactly what this is. You're working on the clock.
I know in California they have benefits under Prop 22. Like, there's some options.
Yeah, they get reimbursed for healthcare. Like if you're signed up for healthcare, I don't know how often it is, but you do get reimbursed for that.
Okay, John.
No, I was going to say, if at some point, is there some point in the future where essentially, in order to become a driver or be a driver in certain locations, that you have to be a part of the union. I don't know if that becomes a question too down the road.
I think we're kind of just mapping out. Even Steve's not here with his big brain about all this stuff. That we're mapping out, like there's a strategy that's being made, and we've got the companies here, and you got these unions, and they're trying to all get their money and their hands on the pile of money, and control and power and all that type of thing. Where, and especially in California, it looks like that is going to happen in New York too. I mean, we could talk about New York as well. Just really quick, we have the trip transparency, so you can see everything only in the city. So there's people upstate New York, like Kim is right there. Kim, is an hour away probably from me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting it. So
that's crazy.
And at the end of, by January 2023, there will be a minimum wage. Basically, they say the wage wage, whatever that called. So that's kind of similar to Prop 22. Now, they're not necessarily giving us any, I think, health benefits or anything like that, but once you put that out, then the companies will say, well, I need more control if I'm going to give you this minimum rate where if it's active time or not. So the more that we ask for, the more control that they have. And then unions come out of nowhere with Teamsters. We had a few conversations about the Teamsters being involved. And it's like, wait a minute. Us independent contractors never said, I want the Teamsters to represent my interests. Why are they even in the room with the politicians and the companies? It's a really shady kind of situation that's happening right now. It's unfortunate as well.
Now is the unions also in like Washington as well?
Well, we can go right into the Washington. Clearly, has to. I'm yelling at.
I would think so.
Rideshare now needs to follow taxi and limo standards. Now, do you know what those standards are, Gary? Because he did not put that.
I don't know the exact standards, but I would assume if it's taxi and limo, then it's going to have to be some type of licensing, regulations, things of that nature, standards on vehicles, especially since they didn't include the delivery platforms. I would have to assume that it's going to be that type of thing.
Yeah, definitely, because union. There's a union. And every taxi and cabs that definitely have unions. Bud Sutter just came in with a really good comment because the unions are in bed with the politicians, and that's something I'm sure we all familiar with from since we all understand what's going on. Yeah, dawn of time. Obviously. So, but it's interesting that they're following the standards, but not for the food delivery workers. So I guess they're good for now. They're safe in terms of being. In terms of too much regulation from the food delivery end, but the rideshare, I wonder if that is actually a benefit for them or not. I don't know. I don't do rideshare, and I don't live in Washington.
Well, Steve did say that, they're getting $1.56 a mile in Washington for rideshare.
Mm-hmm. Is it more of a spread out kind of? It's a big state, but like, is it more spread out? Is it more like condensed in terms of like how long it would take you to go to different places in terms of being a rideshare driver? You familiar?
Not with Washington. I'm not. I've never driven there. Mm-hmm. So, I would assume it's just like any other state. You get into your major cities. Seattle's probably more condensed, probably takes longer to get places. Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm sure they're doing other things as well. And then Massachusetts has been talked about with rideshare, and even with Dash or Pass Faith, where we're talking about they're basically following the Prop 22 model, but instead of waiting on AB 5 type law, they're going to push a law that's going to basically follow the Prop 22 model, which is interesting too, because Boston. It's interesting. I wouldn't assume Boston would be interested in that, but I guess this is where I think a lot of these laws are going to continue to follow. One state does it, and if they're right next to each other, or if they follow the same political leanings and stuff like that, people are going to want that kind of law into their state. And as much as we all don't want, I think a lot of us are capitalists, like through and through, and we want to make our money and not be bothered, leave us alone. Majority of us do not feel that way. A lot of us are coming from W2 gig work. It people are getting more and more into gig work. I forgot the numbers, but it's millions of people are going into this thing, but they want certain things that they were accustomed to when they're doing the W-2 stuff, and they're going to politicians to get that done. So, I think this type of thing is going to continue to happen. And it's not going to matter where you live either. It's gonna come to where you are. John, where you live, where you work, if you mind asking.
Yeah, I'm out in Phoenix, Arizona. But I was going to say to your last point, a lot of these people that are coming to gig work from these W-2 positions, they're used to with that W-2 position having a floor with how much they can earn, and they're trying to institute that with gig work, which on the other side of the coin is taking away, in the long run, I believe, the ceiling of it.
Good point.
I think I said this last week, but I just feel like at some point, I could be off base, that each state might adopt a form or even a smaller form of Prop 22 or, what's going on in New York City to regulate, gig work in itself. I just think that, with states and politics comes control, and, what they can't control, they want to control. So I think we might see more states keep adopting a form of it. What that form of it is, I have no idea, but I just think, there's a lot of people fighting for this. And I think, it should be interesting, Hannibal, since, we are close to each other. Does New Jersey, start to adapt some of, New York City stuff, and, it kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah, we gotta look that up and talk about that, amongst ourselves. New York's, the tri-state area, like, what is, because they usually, New York and Jersey kind of follow what's going on. I mean, it seems like Jersey usually is the first one to get certain things done, like the gambling and the marijuana legislation. Like, so I'm wondering where is it going with the gig work and the path that we're going to. I think the future of gig work is, I don't know if it's even a hybrid model. It looks like a full employee model, especially what's going on in California. Like, I'm trying to think, like, and there's laws in Colorado. They said there's some laws in New Jersey, so we got to look that up later on.
Well, he put in his notes here, and this goes for a lot of states. I realize that there's a lot of old laws in place that have never been updated, but could be, I guess from his notes here, he's saying they've been there 30 years. I know gig work hadn't been around 30 years, but maybe something in those laws,
like freelancing and
like
stuff.
freelancing stuff like that, could be considered the same thing as gig work. And so, as Steve put, almost every state has a law of some sort that could be used as an AB5 type system.
Yeah. I mean, right. I mean, I guess we're still at, like, that disruptive model in terms of the Uber and what they've done, and to kind of change the game a little bit in terms of what is considered being an independent contractor or an employee. And we're still all trying to figure it out. I would like to know how well the companies are doing in California with Prop 22. I would like to know, like, are they bleeding out? Like, is it they, because they stayed around, they made this to stick around. Like, AB5 continued, they were going to leave. Like, if that was it, they were going to push out, or they were threatening to leave. I don't know if they were actually going to leave. I don't know how well they're doing.
Well, we tried to look that up on Sunday, but we couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole argument came on, why are they not cracking down on multi-apping? Because if you have to pay every single driver that's working an active time, and they're all, I don't know how many actually multi-app out there, but I would assume a lot. If you have to pay every one of them, you have to be losing a lot of money. But then on the flip side, we know that they are putting extra fees on top of the customers.
Throwing an extra dollar and stuff like that.
Yeah. Extra fees to cover some of this. So I wish that they would release something to say, hey, yeah, we're doing okay. But we know they won't ever do that, because then
they'll never admit when they're not making money, or they'll hide it into something that's more profitable for the company to say that they are being profitable.
They'll put it into R&D and be losing money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And companies are kind of sneaky that way. I mean, profit and loss. I mean, they have to if they're a public company, obviously they have to report every quarter to their shareholders what their profit and losses are. So I would assume that they report it as a whole, not as an individual. And I don't think we'll ever see those individual numbers because I don't think they'll ever admit that they're bleeding from somewhere to gain somewhere else.
Are you guys all have any investments in these companies, stocks and whatnot?
I do.
I do
in
not in these companies though.
Investments not. So you do not invest in the companies that you're a contractor working for, Kim? Like you don't have any? No.
I know. I am a dividend investor, so a lot of my stocks are in dividend investing, especially monthly dividend investing. So that's one of the main reasons why I don't. But now I'm not invested in any of them.
Okay, well, I need to ask about your portfolio. I don't know what I'm doing, John.
Yeah, I got a little bit of DoorDash, but I bought it, and it's an L right now.
You
for
took
sure.
a hell. You took a hit.
You read the wrong investing advice on that one.
The problem is I held it too long. It had that little pop, and I should have said sold.
Yeah, well, it was a pop. A couple of weeks. It was a pop. Right? I remember they were talking about it jumped up, and that's when you should have.
Well, you should have bought right out the gate. And this is what everybody's like, oh, I'm not going to buy. I'm like, no, you always buy stock right out the gate. And then within a week, sell it because it's going to pop and then it's going to drop. And then and unless you're really good at, fluctuations, you can keep buying and selling, but you have to know a lot more than I know. But, I bought it whenever it first came out as 127, something like that. I bought a little bit of it, and then when it got up to 180 something, I sold it. And I'll take my win. I don't care.
Yeah, I think, but at that time, I think everyone thought, or at least I've seen, people were saying, it's going to go higher. I've been told that it was going to go to $500 by a certain content creator. He said that was going to happen. So, and
did you actually believe that?
Okay, first rule of YouTube: don't listen to content creators.
You actually believe that? Come on.
This person was. I think he had a really close connection to DoorDash, and I think he was getting paid by them. He was saying that DoorDash thought was going to find out. That's what he said. Because I didn't buy any. Obviously.
Right. One of my friends, he does a lot of investing, and he made 2.6 million last year off investing.
Man.
And he said, never listen to anybody on YouTube about investing in stocks because by the time they tell you,
it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a rule. If you're at the hair salon and the hairdresser telling you about stock, it's too late because it's everyone knows about it already.
Right. And there's some really good investors out there, and what you should take from them if you're going to invest is what they're doing, not the stocks that they're offering or saying, hey, this is a really good stock. You should just see how they're actually trading those stocks. Definitely. I buy, I won't buy DoorDash because I still think it's too high. I think it's too high for about $30-something right now. Because if you look at any other gig platform out there, it's gone between 40 and 60 long term. So, and I think eventually that's where DoorDash will end up as well.
Yeah, see, I feel like all these are short-term stocks. I feel like they're too up and down, up and down. When I look at investing, I look at long-term and how to get more back on my investment, which is why I do dividend investing. And, by getting stuff back, you can either reinvest it every month or you can obviously take it out and it be another source of income in revenue coming into you. So to me, when I look at stocks, I look at long-term investments. And to me, a lot of these companies, DoorDash, they're too up and down to have that long-term investment.
Well, I think it really depends as well as when did you invest? Because if you invested at a good point, a very low drop, like I own a lot of Uber. I want to say probably 300, 400 shares.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I got in very low whenever they was dropping out because they was losing so much money. And, now they're up. So I'm not losing any money. So I can keep holding that until I think they're going to lose money and then I can sell it.
It's like long-term strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is with YouTube, you're watching a lot of 25-year-olds telling you how to make $2 million a week, and I'm watching them, I'm like, all right. And then there's a lot of quick videos, quick flashes. They're in a Lamborghini, they're on top of a mansion. They're telling you that you need to invest right now, yelling in your face. I'm looking at them like, should I be doing this? Like, what a 25-year-old knows?
The problem is they probably did make millions by telling you, hey, check out this article I wrote below on how to invest.
Yeah, check out this course. I have a course. Buy this course, and that's how I make my money. But I'm gonna tell you, no, I made it by whatever. Fair enough.
All these people are making millions off of YouTube and everything else, opposed to making millions off of their investments.
Yeah, and they think by telling you everything, and TikTok too. There's a lot of TikTok investing. How would I watch a video for 10 seconds and then follow what this person is telling me? No context. I don't know who this person is, but TikTok investing is a thing. I don't know, Dash. I don't know if you're into TikTok, Dash.
I watch TikTok. I mean, it's this whole meme investing. What was it? The AMC and all the Dogecoin and what was it, GameStop and by the time I know about it, it's way too late.
It's way too late. I stupidly tried. It was like, didn't make any sense. I did make some money on Dogecoin though. I did jump in a little early on that one, and I left when I lost like.
I just sold it. So pissed at Dogecoin. Like I owned Dogecoin. I don't know, like 3-4 years ago. When you bought it,
sell, did you?
Yeah, I sold. I sold it. I was like, man, screw this stuff. It ain't going nowhere. I should have kept it.
Yeah. Oh, guys, this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
No, not by any means. Please.
Yeah, we don't know.
You will lose money if you listen to us.
Hence the conversation.
Yeah. That's also that's a thing that people say. Like they'll tell you 5 stocks to buy, but then they'll begin by saying this is not financial advice though. But buy these 5 stocks I'm going to tell you. Like, all right. I think we just went off the rails a little bit. So Steve asked, if you had to choose which of the laws proposed or legislations between the 3 states we talked about, which one would you choose? Problem is we didn't get a lot of information on the Washington one. I mean, I guess Washington, because if the rideshare laws or the rideshare stuff is going to be more of the taxi and limo standards, and food delivery was not included, I guess that's where I would be. Or I would stay where I am in New York City, where currently, because it's going to get worse next year, where all they have
to go to New York City and be with you, Hannibal, because at least you get transparency. And
just give me transparency. You don't have to give me the minimum wage thing, because so next year maybe a different variation of it, but as long as it stays transparent, I guess that's where I'll stick with. I'll rather deal with what I can see and there's no tricks there, and I may not get as many orders because I think it may be too many people, but at least I know what's going on. So I'll stay where I'm at currently. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, California, they have AB5, so you get the healthcare benefit back or supplement. You get a minimum wage for active hours, and then you also get a mileage reimbursement. Washington, I believe they're similar to AB5. They do have that minimum mileage. It's $1. And most of these laws, we have to say most of these laws are kind of geared towards rideshare, except for New York. But Washington, we got the minimum per mile. We also got the minimum wage, so they do have that up there as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure about the healthcare. So AB5 for California and Washington seem very, similar, and they both got unions involved. So that automatically excludes me altogether.
You're out.
Yeah, I'm out of anything to deal with the union. Yeah. I will say I do like the transparency, but again, I would take that now. But what's it going to be in, say, 5 years from now? There's most of these, as people in the chat have said, they're made to be modified for long term. They throw something together now, and then they're like, wait, this is benefiting you. Let's change it.
Yeah, like they didn't think about that before they started. I don't know. John, what state or what laws you would rather be if you had to choose?
So if I had to choose, I would definitely probably agree and go to New York. The chip transparency. Granted, I would hate, having to drive and deal with New York traffic and whatnot.
It's not fun.
But I mean, that's the only thing I really want is that full tip transparency, knowing everything about the order before I take it. That's what I think is the big thing that I'm surprised more states aren't, actively pushing for, or more unions or whatnot are pushing for.
Yeah, and that's the thing where unions are looked at as the heroes. Like, oh, look, they're trying to fight for us, but they don't understand the full picture. They're just looking at, well, I'm suffering right now, and these unions are going to do things, but you're going to realize that there are going to be more problems may happen due to some of these interventions here. And like what Gary said, in 5 years, we'll see where we are. All right, we had a lot of good conversation. I'm looking at the end of the list here. Did we actually went through the entire list, Gary?
We did, and in an hour and 1 minute.
Whoa!
And we only went off track once.
Only one time.
Yeah, nice, good little sidebar.
We did pretty good. Yeah, pat ourselves on the back.
We don't need Steve.
We do, because he knows way more about AB5 and Prop 22.
He's way more knowledgeable.
He must be laying down. He must be laying down, because once we started rambling about the Washington, he would have screamed into the mic, or at least typed into some messages. He must be laying down. I'm sure next week he'll be back and he'll talk about all that type of thing. We're just gonna end it talk about some politics. That's a great way of ending the stream.
No politics. Right. We know that. We'll get his channel banned.
We don't want to get him banned.
No war stuff. Yeah, no war stuff. No war stuff.
Yeah. Now we do have, next week we will have another Thursday live. Was that Moose Financial next week?
Let me look. Where we at?
Yeah, it was. Yes. I got the ticker up there. Yeah, it's 5-4 Moose Financial. 55 is Metro CEO. CEO founder.
Nice.
I don't know what that is. We'll have to check that out and look it up.
Well, Steve got the best guess.
I think that's the local delivery company. It's like a local delivery company.
And next week he's talking on Tuesday. He's talking to the Long Island Dash Experience. I'm not sure you guys are familiar with that channel. I love them. It's a great channel. It's a wife, a husband, wife, and team. They dash and do all the apps out of Long Island. And it kind of reminded me of, like, sometimes me and my wife, where we'll get in the car and then we'll argue a little bit, or like she's good at certain things and he's good. It's a good dynamic. It's actually a good, entertaining channel. He'll be talking. Hopefully he'll be up and running next Tuesday, because getting your teeth pulled, and on top of that, COVID, that's a lot. That's a double whammy. So hopefully Steve will be up and running. But before I want to end, I do want to ask a question. You don't have to go too crazy, but should Biden cancel student loan debt? You don't have to go too crazy. Now, I would, if he did it, I would not be upset. I wouldn't be upset. But should he do it? No, he shouldn't. But if he did it, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna take the money away. I'm like, well, thanks, But we'll go with Gary. I already know Gary's answer, but go ahead, Gary.
Well, it's not as simple as should he. Or at least to me, it's not. Like, I don't think everyone should have student loan canceled. Mm-hmm. I think that's very unfair to people that actually pick a great career. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, things we need for the country, 100% cancel those. Whether they sign an agreement to do those jobs for a few years or whatever. If you're, an art major, I mean, come on. I mean, you solely don't need that.
I was a fashion major. What are you trying to say there, Gary?
Yeah, how dare you?
Well, I'm just there's a lot of majors out there that people just do and run up financial debt, and doesn't even have anything to do with their job. They just did it because it was easy, and the company that they want to work for says, hey, you have to have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree. And then they just go get one. It doesn't matter what type it is. And then now they got all this student loan debt for a job that's paying them $17 an hour. Like,
yeah,
I think we need to bring back trades. Is what we need to bring.
Oh,
back.
definitely. I'm all in that one. Yeah, definitely. Like trying to getting an 18-year-old, 17-year-old to sign a 6-figure loan is a bit predatory, right? I mean, they're adults. I mean, at that point, 18, you're an adult, and then to sign on to a major, to a skill set that is not valuable enough to pay that back. And the college knows it. They all know it. And then the college jacks the prices up because the loan is paying. Like, it's a lot of shadiness. Same thing with everything. Politicians, labor unions.
It's strange that you say that because I just seen a tweet today from Elon that says, they can get a 6-figure loan for school, but can't get a $10,000 business loan to start a business.
It's so true.
Yeah. And both are risk. Yes, an 18-year-old starting a business probably may fail, but it's a good chance that person that majored in interpretive dance is not going to pay that money back anytime soon. It's just the volume of the skill set that was brought in doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but let's face it. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like these are you're still a kid to me at 18, even 21. 22 years old, like, congratulations, here's your career, you're starting your career. Oh, and by the way, you're like 6 figures in debt to getting your career. It's welcome to society. That's the only thing I just keep thinking. And college is just so freaking expensive.
Yeah. Well, you still start saving, right, for your little one.
That's what that's actually how I actually started in the gig world. Is I was working my W-2, and at the time my daughter was, I think, 2 years old, and I'm like, man, college is expensive, let's start saving. And that's actually how I started doing gig work. Everything that I was doing was going into a Robinhood account for her college education, and that's how it all started.
Nice. John, what are your thoughts on I think I read your post, but go ahead.
Yeah. My thoughts are a couple different thoughts. I don't think that they should cancel it. Now, if they were to build some type of, I don't know, public works program, because I think the way that there's some program out there where if you work for the government, you can get some type of cancellation on that.
Yeah.
So if there was some expansion of that to say, if I start working for the government or even private citizens start to do, I don't know, for lack of better terms, let me watch my words, a buttload of community service, then maybe I could see some reducing it, but just straight out canceling it out the gate, no. And kind of to that comment about first major, not to mention you might change it 2 or 3 times. You might not even finish. So many things happen. That's just,
or by the time you do finish, the job path you was going to is no longer popular.
Yeah.
College sucks. Sorry.
I agree with you guys. I think we need to bring back the trades. I mean, I'll probably date myself by saying this, it was when I was in high school, it was either you went into trades or you went into college, and not everybody could afford college. So trade was very big when I was graduating high school, just because that was the option that a lot of people were going to. So they didn't put themselves into all these thousands of dollars in debt. And I just feel like we kind of got away from that. And there's still really good money to be made in the trades. And, you get some really good jobs and careers out of it.
So I agree, because here's a perfect example. My son wants to be a welder. That's a trade. Mm-hmm. By I think it's $15,000 for the school, and he comes out making $25 to $30 an hour.
It's awesome.
But people that have to go to nursing school for 2-3 years or something like that, they come out and they're making the same amount that someone at McDonald's is making now. It's ridiculous.
It's a bad system. It's a bad system. I didn't want to. I guess we should end it on a sad note, but yeah. What's your plan? Oh, you got any videos coming out, John Dash? Dash Dare TV. Subscribe to this guy. He has a lot of great videos, a lot of great information. But what you got planned out?
Man, I just dropped the video earlier about Ship Shopper Pay. Talking about Ship, how I've been talking about doing a lot of Ship lately, so breaking down how it works and how to make the most money out of the different aspects of Ship Shopper Pay. probably going to continue on that shipped route for a couple more videos. Probably got a ride along coming up here soon too as well. So yeah.
Nice. Everyone Ship is that new, everyone, you don't hear too many bad words about Ship. I think Gig Life made a video about Ship earlier. Yeah. So Ship is the thing. Kim, are you going to do Ship anytime soon?
Everybody's trying to get me to sign up for it. I'll say never say never.
All right.
But don't you have to do shopping? Isn't there shopping involved?
So there is, but there's a video on my speaking of about Ship. There's also delivery only orders, and there's a lot of opportunity with those orders as well. If you only want to do those type of orders and mix it in with your food delivery, because there's still quite a bit of upside on the tips there. So and bonuses, promos, etc. So there's definitely that's on my list of videos to make as well.
So what he's saying is like and subscribe to his channel.
Yes.
And watch his videos.
Watch his videos. And hopefully Kim will, adapt a little bit, acquiesce and maybe sign up for Shipped.
You guys all know my hangouts about food shopping. It's just not me.
See, I can't do Shipped either. I don't like shopping for one, but I tried to sign up. You have to do a video interview and things like that. And they was like, no, we're not hiring this guy.
That's terrible. That's crazy. All right. Well, thank you guys. I think this ran pretty well. The only concern I have is who's going to end this stream because Steve's not here.
Oh, I have admin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You said that happened. All right, cool.
Well,
cool.
You think everything's popping on the screen. Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention to that. All right. So next week we'll have, you already announced everybody. Hopefully Steve will be back, or at least on Tuesday. I don't know. He's going to be here Sunday to do his.
I guess it depends on how he feels. I mean,
yeah, so we'll see how
we're hoping for a speedy recovery. Hopefully he recovers quickly. He really did not look too good tonight, but
he needed to lay down.
He does. He needs to
really
relax.
Trying to make sure the show came on, and he was yelling at me and Gary about things that we were trying to get in our brains, and just but yeah, he's definitely back. Send some well wishes in the chat, put it in the comments for Steve so you can read them. He's an awesome dude. Right. And other than that, I'll see you guys. I will see you guys throughout the weeks and stuff like that, and I'll see you guys next week as well. So thank you for taking time to watch the Rodeo Roundtable with Gary, with John Theory TV, and Kim's Side Money Plans. I'm Hannibal. Thank you for taking time to watch us. And see you guys.
Bye, everybody.